Yorkshire speak out against the initiative.
It's not up to councils, it's not up to schools to put their ideology onto our children. We should be offering them a balanced, nutritious diet.
A very good morning. It was a busy day of Premier League action with wins for Arsenal, Newcastle and Tottenham, with all eyes on today's Manchester derby at Old Trafford. In the Women's Rugby World Cup, England faced Scotland in the semi-final at Ashton Gate.
Wet and windy weather is on the cards once again today. Find out just when that rain will arrive where you are in your full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. And it's lovely to see Cameron here this morning because you must be rather busy in your other job with your other hat on as royal correspondent, because it's going to be a big deal week next week.
It absolutely is. We have President Trump and Melania Trump, the First Lady, coming to Windsor to stay with the King. It's going to be a big state banquet, a massive military spectacle. It's going to dwarf what happened with President Macron's state visit earlier this year. But interestingly, Anne, all of it happening behind the guarded Windsor Castle perimeter wall.
I was just going to say, is it all happening behind the castle?
It is, and I think even before Charlie Kirk's assassination, that was always going to be the case, but it means that there's not going to be any public-facing elements of President Trump's state visit, so the public aren't going to be able to see him at all, actually.
No, there's not going to be any processions down the Mall and things like that?
No, well, it's all happening in Windsor.
Out.
No, all happening in Windsor and all happening within the Windsor Great Park, you know, the bit the public can't get into. And there will be carriages and there will be soldiers and all the military spectacle inside the quadrangle, but the public won't see any of it.
Will you be kept outside the great doors, or will you be inside?
No, I get to go inside, so
lovely.
I will be bringing you the very latest for GB News viewers.
It's lovely inside Windsor Castle, isn't it?
It's so nice.
Brilliant.
And also, you forget how old it is. I think it's the oldest occupied castle in the world, and it's the oldest kitchen in Britain. 700 years old, that kitchen dates back to. So that's what's going to be cooking the state banquet.
That in itself is worth a documentary, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because what would they have cooked there 700 years ago?
Swans, maybe?
Yeah, probably, yes, that sort of stuff. Stuff we wouldn't eat nowadays.
So the fire was in 1992 and they funded the rebuild by opening up to tourists, is that correct?
Yeah, they did. They did indeed, yeah. I think the Queen was forced to also open up Buckingham Palace because the taxpayer thought, well, they're not going to pay for that. The monarchy at the time was, let's say, slightly less popular than it was now.
Her Annus Horribilis,
yes,
wasn't it, anyway?
Yes, 2 separations, 1 divorce.
But when you're in there, it's just like a little city of its own, which, of course, is what a castle was always designed to be.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your stables and you've got your rows of cottages for all of the staff, or a lot of the staff, anyway.
And it is massive.
It is massive inside. It's lovely.
Yes.
It's the one that they always say, and I'm sure it's not true anymore, but they always say the first thing Americans say is, why did they build it so near Heathrow Airport?
Well, what fascinates me is you can still fly planes over the castle, which I don't think if
I was in a plane coming in a while ago, and it wasn't meant to, but the pilot said, I think we were being held in a holding pattern, and he actually said, if you look out of the window, and I'll try and get it on both sides for you, you'll be able to see straight down into Windsor Castle. It was a particularly clear day. It was lovely.
And if you're nosy like me, it means you can see the private parts of the castle, or indeed the Windsor Great Park, so you can see the Will and Kate's Adelaide Cottage.
Did you see anything?
I didn't. Well, I saw parts of the castle where perhaps you wouldn't see it as a member of the public.
Exactly.
Yes.
Anyway, well, that'll be a busy week for you then. OK, but thank you very much for coming in today as well.
That's OK, anytime.
Actually, Stephen's at a wedding, and weddings are something we do want to talk about a bit later on.
Oh, yeah.
The front page of The Star has a very interesting story about a wedding.
Yes, so this couple didn't want to have traditional wedding presents. Instead, they decided to bring a contactless machine and wanted their guests to fund their honeymoon by tapping their contactless card on the machine. 150 guests this wedding had, and let's say, I don't know, they give £10 on average donation each.
At least.
That's £1,500. Yeah, Chris Martin and Tasha White, been together for 14 years and decided to do that on their wedding reception.
I don't see a problem with it at all.
No, I really don't, actually.
I really don't.
In fact, it makes life easier for the guests.
It does. This is the thing. I mean, the worst thing about a wedding is just having to go to a shop or go online and try and pick something you think the bride and groom might like. I'm hopeless at that, especially if I don't necessarily know both of them. Sometimes you only know one party. A list is what I need.
Yeah.
And I can pick something, whichever price range I want, I can get it, and that's it done. Now, a step on from that, money is so important. You need spending money on your honeymoon, you need to fund lots of different things. Weddings are expensive as they are.
Yeah.
So if someone just says to me, look, give us what you think we're worth, or what you can afford, perfect for me, and I can get to the bar.
And to be fair, yeah, definitely. Couples nowadays tend to have all of the household appliances anyway, because they live together before the wedding.
Well, that's very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't really need a toaster or a Corby trouser press.
Yeah,
do they?
you just don't
probably
Corby
a good
trouser. Everybody, yes, that's right. Anyway, if you've been to a wedding recently where they've done something like that in a unique way, I mean, in traditional weddings, like in villages in Greece and Italy, you always see the bride is dancing and people put notes in her waistband or whatever,
Yes.
or down her cleavage nowadays.
Well, let us know if you think that's a good idea. gbnews.com/your-say.
Absolutely. But there's a lot of serious news around, and it was a very busy day yesterday. Our top story is that 25 protesters have been arrested. Now, look, already I'm being inundated with people saying, why are you stressing the negative? Only 25, compared with a lot of other huge rallies. Maybe that's not so many.
Notting Hill Carnival, there's over 100 arrests.
Well, absolutely. But those are the facts. 25 protesters arrested, 26 police officers injured after approximately 150,000 people. Is that the numbers we think? It was an enormous crowd, wasn't it? So many people took to the streets of London yesterday for this rally, which was organised by Tommy Robinson.
Yes, and over 1,500 police officers were deployed to the so-called Unite the Kingdom rally.
It proved, though, insufficient because violence did, I'm afraid, break out between protesters and police, with objects like traffic cones and bottles being thrown at officers.
Well, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has condemned protesters who targeted police, promising they will face the full force of the law.
But interestingly, politically, you see, it's yet another pressure point for the Prime Minister after a week which saw the US Ambassador, Lord Mandelson, sacked from his role over his links to convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The political drama of the last 2 weeks has left the Prime Minister in arguably his weakest position ever since taking power, leaving even his own backbenchers wondering now if his days are well and truly numbered.
Well, let's speak to the political commentator John Oxley now. John, good morning to you. I mean, first of all, on the protests, I think what was very clear, because we, of course, had a counter-protest at the same time going on,
these two counter-demonstrations and, unfortunately, spilled into violence. And certainly you're seeing increased political mood. But, again, in the context of the country, these are not huge numbers of people turning out. So it'd be interesting to see in the coming days how we discuss this, how much this is representative of wider moods and how much this is just very motivated groups turning out.
I don't know. When you look at the aerial footage, it looks to me like an enormous number of people. It reminded me of the, other huge demonstrations against, for instance, the poll tax back in the, was it 80s, late 80s, 90s?
But I think, if you look at, say, something like the Iraq War demonstration or the anti-hunting march, they were close to 1 million people, which is sort of 10 times what we saw yesterday. So it can't be dismissed. But, we always say with these things, student protests as well, you see big protests, but how much do people actually support this in the wider country? 100,000 people, if you get 150,000 votes in the general election, that's almost nothing. That's a minor party. But
I suppose the real question is, it's almost as though you saying that means that it's not going to impress anyone. But if I were a politician, it would be my responsibility to look at the scenes that we're looking at now and say, why do people feel so strongly? How should we be reacting?
Yes, and I think protests are something you always take note of. But if we look at the history of protest in this country, and some of those protests I mentioned that were much bigger, the student fees ones in 2010, the Iraq War, the anti-hunting march, this noticeable thing about that is none of them achieved their aims.
I think there appears to be, a growing sentiment in this country that we need to control our borders a bit more than we currently are doing. 150,000 is what the officials have been quoting are in those protests. But then at the front of the protests, you have characters such as Tommy Robinson, like Katie Hopkins, very, very divisive figures. Do you think that's a help or a hindrance to the cause?
I think it's definitely a hindrance. You look at the broader polling on figures like that, they have very little support. Most people have negative views of them, and that ties into what you see in the violence which spills out, which is, again, very disastrous for any cause, really. And I don't think anyone wants to see people fighting with police officers and police officers being injured, as they have been, and that tends to undermine any cause that's marching or protesting.
Well, we'll throw it open to anyone watching or listening at the moment. What do you think, or who do you think was responsible for any of the negative aspects of that yesterday? But for the moment, John, thanks very much indeed.
Right, time for a check on your weather now with Tom Morgan.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be northeastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon, and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland is still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That window will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers though across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, the memorial service for Charlie Kirk is set to take place next Sunday in his home state of Arizona.
On Wednesday, as I'm sure you don't need telling anymore, the father of two was fatally shot whilst debating students at Utah Valley University.
A 22-year-old man, Tyler Robinson, was arrested 33 hours later in connection to the killing.
And in a GB News exclusive, the director of the US National Institutes of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, has said that he is being forced to increase his security in response to the rise in political violence. Let's take a listen to what he told GB News health editor Lucy Johnston.
I actually got to know Charlie a little bit. In fact, I was on his like show just a little while before he died a couple of months ago, and I have a great admiration for him. He had a young family, obviously very brave. He I was a professor. He clearly had a joy in and a desire to talk to young people and reason with them. I mean, as a professor, I shared that mission. And the fact that he was essentially assassinated in a college campus setting it hits home really hard to me. We need a society where we can talk to each other even if we disagree. We can reason together. If anyone who talked to Charlie Kirk for 5 minutes would realize what a good human being he was. He even if you disagreed with him, like he cared about people, he cared about his family, he cared about doing good. And you may disagree about what his notion of the good is, but you can talk with him and reason with him and change his mind. I actually had a conversation with him where I think I changed his mind. I got death threats constantly for several years. I got a tremendous pressure from my university to be silent. And you said I was blacklisted by Twitter. My own government undertook activities to make sure that my point of view did not get out into the community at large, and on social media and elsewhere. It was heartbreaking, and sometimes it was just scary. I was actually afraid to walk around Stanford campus. There were posters everywhere, essentially threatened. I felt like there were death threats against me as a result of as a result of my advocacy during the pandemic, they want me to have a little more security than I'm used to having. I don't really love that, but I mean, you know, I'd love to be able to ride the metro freely and openly, but everyone's telling me I shouldn't be doing that. I have to keep doing my job. I mean, I'm not here to protect myself. I'm here to accomplish the mission of the NIH, which is to advance people's health, to improve health. I mean, that's my purpose, of my career, and I'm going to keep doing that.
I think we are going to find more and more politicians and even health officials like that. Anyone who sticks their head above the parapet, I think, and is just sort of well known for speaking out. Somebody is going to take offence somewhere, and I think after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, more and more of those people are going to become frightened of speaking out.
Yes, and I think security is a real concern, isn't it? Because, of course, Charlie Kirk was not a government minister, he wasn't a politician, he was a private citizen, and as many experts have told us on this TV channel, media company GB News, over the last couple of days, it's very expensive to keep these people safe. And unfortunately, what it's going to do is put off potentially very good politicians from speaking out, Anne, as you say.
So then you get the politicians you don't awfully want. Maybe.
Quite.
You know, They always say you get the politicians you deserve, and maybe, if we allow the climate to become violent like this, how do you stop it, of course, is another question. You get the politicians and the speakers you deserve.
Yeah.
Don't like the sound of that.
No, but at the heart of it, it's just heartbreaking because Erica Kirk, her statement to the world, I suppose, over the last 24 hours or so, saying you have no idea what you've just unleashed across this entire country. She was very tearful, very brave, I think, the statement she did live.
It was fighting language, actually. I can understand her being angry and very outspoken. Now, a lot of people didn't like what she said and the way she delivered it. And I even read lots of comments about how the fact that it was awful that she even thought of putting makeup on. They criticised her for that, which I think is harsh.
I think it is quite harsh. And, of course, she is now a widow, having to bring up two very young children, ages 3 and 1, by herself. And it's just the most tragic situation because at the end of the day, regardless whether you agreed with Charlie Kirk and what he said or not, he was a father and a husband.
And her 3-year-old daughter said, "Where's Daddy?" And she said, he's on a work project with Jesus.
Right.
He's gone on a work project with Jesus.
I suppose I'm not sure how else you break it to a 3-year-old that your father's been assassinated.
Anyway, look, we'll change the subject entirely, but you may have very strong views on this. No more meat Mondays. We're going to have a look into why it's become so widespread in school. I didn't know it was, but a lot of schools do meat-free Mondays. And a lot of people now are saying that should end.
But first, let's take a look at this wonderful skyline over London this morning. This is GB News Breakfast with Cameron and Anne.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello again.
Hello, and lots of you have been getting in touch, actually, about the Unite for Kingdom march that took place in central London yesterday. Donna has been in touch. Good morning to you, Donna. She says, for the first time in my 50 years on this wonderful earth, my husband and I walked with pride to be British. There was so many people there. Why are people playing down these numbers? I am a tax-paying, hard-working grandma who has always done the right thing and even volunteer my time within the court system. I saw no violence. I saw fathers walking with their children. I saw old people walking with pride. I saw people carrying crosses. I saw memorials for Charlie Kirk. And I saw unity, community and spirit. Donna says she did not see violence or aggression or fear. And I did not feel fear, as I do, unfortunately, now living in England.
Really good point. A bit later on, we're going to be talking to Doogie Beattie, who was our reporter, and he was actually there in the middle of it all yesterday, and he'll be giving us, but I know, his totally accurate report about what he saw too. But he was interviewing yesterday lots of people who say, I haven't seen a bit of violence.
Yes, and I think most people probably didn't, because out of the 150,000 people, there were only 25 arrests. And the reason that there were clashes with police is that they were trying to confront the anti-racism protesters. So the police, basically, to stop a big fight breaking out, they create this line between the two protest groups to try and stop violence. So that's where there were small clashes. But I think a vast majority of people probably wouldn't have seen that because they're on the march.
Doogie will explain that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you were talking about the kitchen inside Windsor Castle being the oldest kitchen in the world.
In the country.
It's certainly in the country,
yes.
Right. And I was saying, what sort of food would they have cooked 700 years ago? This is the kitchen inside Windsor Castle. Rory's been in touch. He said the diet in 1300s Britain was centred on cereals like barley, oats and rye, consumed as bread, ale, porridge and pottage, which was a thick stew, by all social classes, with the poor eating coarser dark bread. Vegetables and fruits were grown seasonally, with peasants eating cabbages, beans and leeks. Access to meat, poultry and fish varied greatly by class. The poor ate less, whilst the wealthy had rich diets with beef, game and poultry, like the swans you mentioned.
Yes.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is fascinating, yes. The Great Kitchen, the oldest working kitchen in the country. I've got this up from the Royal Collection Trust now. Built in the reign of Edward III, and it's been used for over 750 years.
Got to do a documentary about that.
Oh, yes. We'll try and get it in for GB News.
I'm not so keen on eating what they might have cooked in the 1300s, but I'll bet they cook an awful lot different now.
I'm sure President Trump's going to have a slightly more up-to-date menu.
Yeah, although he might be fascinated to eat in from Edward III's kitchen. OK, it's time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to be our biggest winner to date with a prize package worth over 104 grand. You know now, I think it includes the motorhome and 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks to explain more.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 £1,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck with that. Now, children are back at school, and that means another year of cafeteria lunches.
But have you heard of meat-free Mondays in primary schools? Pretty controversial, apparently, to some. Anyway, some say it takes business away from farmers.
Well, GB News reporter Anna Riley has been looking into a campaign in East Yorkshire to stop primary schools from taking part.
Meat-free Mondays. Over 3,500 schools take part in the UK, and once a week it's only vegetarian meals on the menu. But Councillor Leo Hammond wants this to change for pupils in East Yorkshire.
My petition that I'm asking the public to support calls for compulsory procurement targets for the council to buy its food locally. The petition also calls for an end to the climate change menu that the council has introduced, where schools who source their food from the council get the option, if the school decides, to force children to eat meat-free meals at school, regardless of the child or the parents' views on that. I think that's wrong. I firmly believe in the freedom of choice of parents and children to decide what they eat. So I want to go back to the sensible option of having 5 meat options and 5 meat-free options a week, and let the parents and children to decide.
The campaign also calls for the council to source more produce from farms in the area. It's a scheme backed by East Yorkshire pig farmer Anna Longthorpe.
It's not up to councils, it's not up to schools to put their ideology onto our children. We should be offering them a balanced, nutritious diet and enable them to get all of the nutrients that they need, which includes meat. We'd be far better looking at supporting local farmers, supporting local businesses. We've got a real opportunity here in East Yorkshire. We produce pretty much everything that we need. And we've got big, food, the processors here as well. We've got the logistical network. So if we could get all of those people together, all of those businesses together, we could do something really quite special here, I think, in East Yorkshire, and get local food in local schools.
East Riding of Yorkshire Council said school menus are created by a team of school meals experts who adhere to the school food standards, ensuring children eat a healthy, balanced diet. Each school, in consultation with governors, chooses their lunch menu. This includes whether they want to include a climate day, supporting the school's curriculum and ethos. Parents and the public can sign the End Meat Free Monday petition online. Anna Riley, GB News.
I didn't know. I think meat-free Mondays are a good idea.
Well, I think it should be about choice.
If they're done well.
Yes. Well, yeah, but I just think if people like meat, they should be able to eat meat. And if they like vegetarian foods, they should be able to eat vegetarian food. Surely it should be a choice, having 2 options, which I think is what I had at my school.
No, if it's a primary school, why not? You're actually saying to a load of kids of a new generation, meat-free food can be really delicious and interesting and lovely. Give it a go.
True. I suppose the farmers would be upset, if they can't sell their
One
meat
day a week.
Well, that's what the Yorkshire farmers were saying.
Well,
anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. And we will, of course, be debating this, won't we, Anne, in the next hour.
OK, keep watching, because still to come, we're going to be finding out how the King has reacted to Lord Mandelson's sacking as US Ambassador this week. First of all, the Premier League results. We're going to be talking about that as well. So it's all coming up. You're watching GB News Breakfast with Cameron and Anne.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
There's a big change in the age of parents, so first-time parents are getting older and older. There's been a significant increase in the number of men over 60 becoming fathers, a 15% increase in just 1 year, and an increase in the number of babies born to foreign parents. But what's really, really concerning is that what's called the total fertility rate, that's the average number of babies that each woman has over her childbearing life, has gone down again, and it's now at a record low, just 1.41 children on average per woman, and of course we need about 2.1 to have a stable population. Now, a lot of people think, well, why don't we want the population to decline? We've been warning about burgeoning population for 50, 60 years now, but I think the really important factor to consider here is it's not really the overall size of the population that matters so much as the proportion of young to old, because that is what we need in order to have enough people working, enough people paying taxes to support people who are retired, to support people who are sick. And that is going down and down and down with huge economic consequences.
Do the figures divide it so that they can say whether the children are of African heritage or of this or of that? Does it tell you those sorts of statistics as well? And if so, what are the... What are they?
Yes, so we know the nationality of mothers who give birth, and in terms of foreign mothers, the greatest number of babies are born to women of Indian and Pakistani heritage. So they are the biggest numbers, the biggest nationalities. But I think what's really important to note is that even with the huge and unpopular levels of immigration that we've had, even with those levels, the birth rate is still falling and the ratio of young to old is still going down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 6:34. Time to go through all the sport now with Aidan. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you both.
Lots of football yesterday.
Yes, there was. I mean, not loads of goals, but some interesting stories around. We saw Big Ange Postecoglou, the new Nottingham Forest manager, go back to North London, this time Arsenal, of course, but they lost by 3 goals to 0. But he said afterwards, it's not a project here. He has to get results immediately. And that almost, to me, sounds as if he's putting pressure on himself there. Elsewhere, great story at Bournemouth, you have to say. They won their South Coast derby against Brighton and Hove Albion, you'll be pleased to know. And this is a club who... They don't spend huge amounts of money.
Let's go along and support them at some point.
That's a GB News night out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going down to Bournemouth. But anyway, listen, they lost their 2 best players, Housen and Kirk, to Real Madrid and Liverpool, respectively, in the summer. And everyone thought, look, they're heading straight for the bottom 3. It's going to be extremely difficult for them. They've got this smart American Trump-supporting owner who just flies in the face of football convention. He sacked Gary O'Neill, his manager, 2 years ago, after he kept him in the league. And everyone said, well, what are you doing? He's a really capable manager. And he let him go to Wolves, and he brought this guy, Andoni Areola, in from Spain. Nobody had heard of him. But he said, look, trust my model, trust my process. I know where I'm getting my players from. I've got an excellent analysis and recruitment channel. And he just seems to get these players into the club and, crucially, gets them integrated quickly. It's such a difficult thing to do, believe me. When you're going up against these behemoths like Liverpool and Manchester United and Manchester City, etc., and yet they're 4th in the Premier League table. They lost to Liverpool on the opening day of the season. They seem to have unearthed another outstanding striker in Semenya. David Brooks, the captain, I mean, a cancer survivor from 3 years ago. He seems to have rebuilt his career, rebuilt his life, and he's leading that club down there, and they're in front of, what, 11,000 crowds? Minuscule number of people compared to what some of the really big clubs get. So I want to give them a real big up this morning because they're performing so well. Early days, of course, I'm not expecting them to win the title or anything, but they have to be in a conversation
but it's
for European
nearly
football right
every
now.
weekend when we talk about Bournemouth, they've won.
I know, it's astonishing. And you know what? These data models that these clubs have, it's designed, Cameron, to save them money on players, yet there is more money wasted at Premier League football level in transfers. I mean, we just saw well over £1 billion spent in the summer there. There'll be more in January as well. And I think we're going to hit a point where you wonder how much higher it can go. So clubs like Bournemouth have to cut their cloth. They have to make wise decisions. They have to spend their money smartly because there's lots of takers out there ready to sell you a player for over the odds. And they go, what can he do? What's his pass completion like? How far does he run during a game? What's his injury record like? What's he like in the dressing room?
But when you started talking about him, you said he's a Trump supporter. It's almost first description. So, does he have, I mean, any of those, does he have the same attitude?
Yeah, he does.
In what way would you describe that as it goes to football?
He's very personable, but he is somebody who, when he's interviewed, is very, very set in his ways in the sense that this is the way I do it. You may not like it, but judge me over the long term. I was really sceptical 2 years ago when he was on radio and he was saying, he just sacked this very, very good manager, Gary O'Neill, outstanding guy, and he went on to have success at Wolverhampton Wanderers. And he said, look, Gary's done brilliantly for me, but we've taken a decision. It's been fair. We've paid him off, but we've got a new guy in who we think is going to be even better. And you have to say, over that 2 year period, 2.5 year period since, his prediction has been borne out. And it's been bold, and it's had a clear direction. And sometimes in business and in football, and football particularly, you really do need that. It's a crazy environment.
So Bournemouth's success is very much down to strategy, would you say, rather than luck?
Oh, no luck. Well, look, we all need a bit of luck. Of course you do, particularly in football.
They have continuous luck.
They have.
Well, you're arguing the luck.
No, this is strategic, and he's on record. He's on record. And he's not. You know what? He doesn't come out and say, "Look at me, I got it right," because he knows that football is so fickle, and you're at the mercy of so many different variables that it could collapse next week. So he's one of these guys who, it's a team down there, and they just keep going on week after week after week. It helps there's no pressure on them. Nobody expects them to do anything, but they are overperforming right now, fourth in the table. Long may it continue for the sake of competition.
Isn't today the day of a very high-pressure game with Manchester United?
Manchester United and Manchester City. Yeah, both clubs could do with some good fortune. Actually, United have had not a wretched start to the season, I would say, but they did lose to Grimsby in the League Two side in the.
Now
in the League Cup.
you see, does real pressure play a part?
In the Manchester derby, yes, because City haven't made a good start either. They've both got problems in the goalkeeping department, but still, even though neither side looks as if they're going to trouble the top two as of now, it's still a huge game globally. I mean, the viewing figures for that will be off the chart. They really will. And it's at Old Trafford, 4:30. Some other good games yesterday. Newcastle getting their first win yesterday. West Ham manager Graham Potter under pressure, losing at home 3-0 against Tottenham Hotspur. And Liverpool travel to Burnley today in the 2 o'clock kickoff.
And very quickly, what about darts?
Luke Littler, into the semi-finals of the World Series.
Oh,
listen, I just find it crazy, Cameron, that we're talking about darts in September. It used to just be it's 2 weeks around either side of Christmas and New Year. After about January the 4th, that's it. We'll just put it in a box until that's how it used to be when I was covering it. But Luke Littler seems to be transcending the sport altogether. I mean, I mentioned him to people who have no interest in sport, let alone darts. Oh yeah, he's that young kid who keeps confounding expectations.
Well, there's such an interest in him because he's so young and been doing so well.
He's world number 2. I mean, he's in a strong field. Don't forget, he's not even the world number 1. He's world number 2.
He's put darts on the map.
Without doubt, he was 3-0 down yesterday against Johnny Clayton. He won the next 5 legs as if pressure didn't matter to the guy, and he's into the semi-final against Ross Smith, and that was in Amsterdam yesterday, so it's proof that darts is spreading around Europe and it's going to go around the world as well.
OK,
that's Lipton too.
Thank you very much. See you in the next hour.
OK, still to come, the King apparently has an opinion, or at least he's weighed in a little bit, or he's made his feelings known, however they do it, on the Peter Mandelson scandal. We'll find out what he has to say next in our review of today's papers with Emma Wolfe and Lewis Oakley. There they are. Hello. And but first of all, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's where to go for it.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast. Hello, if you're heading off to the Mediterranean, then there's plenty of dry, sunny and very warm weather on offer over the next few days. There may well be a few showers just moving into the far north of Portugal and the far north of Spain on Monday, but most of Iberia, dry, sunny and very warm, if not hot. The same across Italy, most of Greece, the Balkans and Turkey. Just 1 or 2 afternoon thunderstorms here and there. And the outlook is for it to stay pretty settled, dry and sunny for the vast majority and very warm indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordmeat, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time to go through the papers now with Emma and Lewis. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. So I suppose we have to start, Lewis, with the Sunday Times front page. New revelations over Peter Mandelson, who's really beginning to pile the pressure, actually not just on Keir Starmer.
It really is. So what we're hearing now is that Starmer was handed a 2-page warning about the ambassador sort of months before he was put in. There's sort of now a war breaking out in Downing Street. We're hearing that there's tensions rising between Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney. And what the kind of line coming out now is that Mandelson was economical with his answers. That's the kind of get out. Well, he didn't really tell us everything. Can you just think, if you're putting someone in that position, do your own homework, call in the references. This isn't, you know, some secretary. This is a really powerful position that we're putting in. I think the wider thing, though, is it's not going away, right? He's fired him. Now, usually if someone's fired, that's the end of the story. This is not going away, and that's putting real pressure on Keir Starmer now. Is he going to be leading them into the next election? We don't know. It's really pulled up all of these issues.
Apparently, Peter Mandelson being fired as opposed to resigning is still at this very moment on the government payroll.
And he can give 3 months' notice to go back to the House of Lords, which is another question. He can just resume his... And people are saying, should this man be a lawmaker in our country? There's a lot of contradictions in the papers overnight, aren't there, this morning, about who knew what exactly when, as Lewis says.
And he could even claim unfair dismissal from his
unfair
role,
dismissal.
because he's a civil servant, not a minister.
And does he want vengeance? And does he have juice on anyone else? It's a very difficult position for Keir Starmer to be in. This was meant to be new term at Westminster. This was meant to be, you know, what were we last week? Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 500. But it was meant to be a reset after the disastrous Angela Rayner bungling. Starmer is facing, what are they calling it in the Sunday Times? The worst week of his political life.
Well, I think you're right. It's because of the Angela Rayner thing happening so soon, and, you know, with him always giving the backing at Prime Minister's question, I have full confidence. If the Prime Minister said he had full confidence in me, I'd be terrified.
It's the kiss of death.
It's the second PMQs where he's put his full weight behind somebody and then a few days later fired them all.
And there are deeper questions, aren't there, about the very light vetting that seems to have gone on. It looks like departments are blaming each other. It looks like the Foreign Office is saying, well, you didn't do it properly, and number 10 are saying, no, it's all, you know, it's your fault.
And there are rumours, allegedly, that Keir Starmer is turning to the people around him and saying, you were meant to protect me from this.
This is the thing, and I think that for a lot of us, when he was put in post, I'm talking about Mandelson here, we all had questions. I don't know anyone, when he was put in post, that thought it was a good idea. So how are they, at the heart of it, apparently doing all their due diligence and getting it so wrong with who they're putting in these posts?
Well, now, number 10 appears to be in damage control, doesn't it? And there's been a lot of criticism around his chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, for advising him perhaps wrongly.
For advising him wrongly, for potential being quite close to Peter Mandelson, quite chummy, apparently. The other thing is this very light email. 3 questions. Apparently they didn't really discuss it. 3 very light questions. They didn't even have a face-to-face interview, and Mandelson didn't have his sit-down interview until after he was appointed. So I think these 3 questions were like, could you tell us a bit more about your links to Jeffrey Epstein? You know, you stayed in his apartment after the conviction. Can you tell us a bit more about that? You know, not the kind of in-depth grilling that you would expect for such a high-profile appointment. So, if nothing else, the judgment call of the Prime Minister is certainly in question.
And talk about coming back to bite you, because we have Trump arriving next week. We don't have an American ambassador.
And they're all linked. It's such an interesting situation, because Trump is also linked to Epstein. And then we've got the King, and it's a state visit, and we've got Prince Andrew.
Exactly.
So it's such a mesh. These rich, powerful men, my goodness. Anne.
And Emma, of course, the King reportedly has described this whole Mandelson situation as an unwelcome distraction, according to, I think it's Telegraph.
Classic King Charles. I mean, not a lot of thought for the victims, an unwelcome distraction, and he's quite irritated. You can imagine him being quite irritated by it all.
For a monarch, those are they seem understated, but my goodness, there's a lot of power behind those.
Well, there's many reasons, as I said, why the Starmer revelations are... why the Mandelson revelations, there may be Starmer ones, are unwelcome. But ahead of this state visit, it couldn't be worse. We don't actually have a US ambassador in place now for this state visit. And also, for King Charles, this is very, very uncomfortable, because on the front of, I think it's the Mail, we hear that more emails coming out, hundreds more emails, could further incriminate Andrew, which is his brother.
It's not good.
It's not good.
But look, I do think when Trump arrives, we will do what we do best in this country, which is pageantry. I don't think that this will come up in anything they talk about. And Trump is used to trouble. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be a day in Trump's life if there weren't some trouble anyway. So I don't know how much it's really going to dampen the state visit. I mean, you know.
But Cameron says it's all going to happen behind the walls of Windsor Castle anyway.
Oh, yes, so there's not going to be any public-facing elements to it. And I don't, as you say, Lewis, I don't think we're going to discuss the Epstein problem, but the papers might. The media might. Is it going to distract from the shoring up of the relationships between the 2 countries?
And how quickly can they get these emails out before the state visit? I mean, is it Trump arrives on Wednesday?
Tuesday night he lands in the UK, and then he's at Windsor on Wednesday.
Yeah, and obviously they're not going to refer to it in a sort of state in the banquet speech or anything.
Within the walls of Windsor Castle, they just won't put the papers out.
No. James Roscoe is stepping in as the temporary British ambassador to the United States for this state banquet. But back to the leadership issue, because, of course, some Labour MPs have been also questioning Sir Keir Starmer's judgment. And Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, Now, there are rumours that he may run in this by-election in Gorton and Denton. Is that a potential leadership challenge on the cards?
That's certainly what the papers are suggesting, is that this could be a leadership challenge if he wins it and gets in. I think Nigel Farage has commented on it too, saying he could have a bit of a fight on his hands. So it's all to play for. And now, obviously, with Angela Rayner gone, the sort of line of succession is sort of up in the air. Is it Wes Streeting? Could it be Andy Burnham? Who knows? But as
is it somebody like another contender, like, for instance, maybe Wes Streeting, deliberately putting it out there so that it sort of wrecks Andy Burnham's chances before he's even got going?
Ooh, someone's been in this game a long time.
Oh, there
are a lot, yeah.
There's plotting and sub.
There's a lot of plotting and subplotting going on, and people getting ready for what happens if Starmer, doesn't survive this next round of crises and scandals and whatever.
There seems to be a lot of energy being put in to, let's say, changing the wheels of government rather than actually focusing on what the British public wants the government to focus on.
Because we're not in a good place in this country and the economy and everything. But every by-election now is a risk for Labour. None of it is a walk in the park.
Well, they have that
Reform
massive
could,
majority,
imagine that. Reform sweep in and then take Andy Burnham's chances away.
Well, this is what is so difficult a decision for Andy Burnham if this is what he wants to do. The idea is that if as soon as a good seat becomes...
But no seat is a safe seat now.
No, that will be a target for reform and they will absolutely go for it. And then he's given up his mayoralty and lost a by-election. Not
politics is a cruel game.
My God, I don't know why.
I wouldn't want to do it.
And does Andy Burnham really have the popularity, across the party?
Well, it's interesting because I referred to him as King of the North yesterday, as so many people do, and my goodness, our viewers have been writing in saying he's not terribly popular up here. Thank you very much.
No.
We don't like him.
And down south, he's not that popular.
As universally liked as you think he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very interesting. Let's move on then to another story which will get steam coming out of your ears, or not, maybe. The amount of money our NHS spends on translators.
Well, I don't know if you've been in a hospital recently or been in A&E or anything like that, but the amount of people who don't speak English and really don't speak English kind of functionally is absolutely astonishing. And we now get these figures showing that the NHS is spending around £130,000 a day. So that's around £64 million, I think, in the last 5 years on interpreters and translators for non-English speaking patients.
Have they not heard of Google Translate? I suppose if you're seeing a doctor, maybe you need something a little bit more sensitive than Google.
Well, that was my first thought when I read this story, is that, well, where is the technology to bridge this? There's so many apps nowadays that can translate, and I think that the truth is, this is a symptom. As much as this story might get people annoyed about the translation, it's a symptom of how we run the NHS, which is procurement is just destroying it. It costs, people tell me, it costs £35 to change a light bulb in a hospital because this person's got the contract, and then the amount of money we spend on medications that you or I could get in Boots or other retailers for 45p.
Paracetamol.
So it's the way it's run. People see the NHS coming and they think, right, whack up the prices, we'll get the contract, and then we'll make a lot of money. So I think that's probably what's happening here. We need common sense reform of the NHS.
It is that, but it's also the fact that asylum seekers are entitled to free translation, free interpreters while they are having their claims processed. And we have a lot of asylum seekers in the system who are having those
but what's the alternative with that? Then are we going to have to prove that you were born here to get treatment? Are we going to put a nurse in that position, like, well, you weren't born here, so you're going to have to be turned away? And I can't even tell you this in the language that you speak. You don't even know you're being turned away. Well, we're in a bit of a situation.
A long time.
Well, it's not astonishing.
So we'll have to come back to this. But first, here is the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be north-eastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That window will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers there across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Protesters take to the streets of London for Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally.
At least 150,000 people marched through the capital with police condemning violent outbreaks.
25 protesters were arrested and 26 police officers injured. So is that a sign that Britain has fractured beyond repair?
Elsewhere, new revelations about Lord Mandelson's friendship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Could it threaten the Prime Minister's position? Could Sir Keir Starmer be the next casualty of this Labour government?
The first Channel migrants are set to be deported to France tomorrow. But could lawyers launch an 11th hour bid to block that one-in, one-out deal?
The memorial of Charlie Kirk is set to take place next Sunday after Donald Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom this week. GB News exclusively reveals the head of America's top medical research body has been told to increase his security following Kirk's assassination.
I got death threats constantly for several years. I got, the tremendous pressure from my university to be silent. And you said I was blacklisted by Twitter. My own government undertook activities to make sure that my point of view did not get out.
And are you a vegetarian or a meat eater? Asking, is it time to scrap meat-free Mondays in schools? We're going to be debating that quite soon because farmers, in Yorkshire particularly, are speaking out against the initiative.
It's not up to councils, it's not up to schools to put their ideology onto our children. We should be offering them a balanced, nutritious diet.
It was a busy day of Premier League action with wins for Arsenal, Newcastle and Tottenham, with all eyes on today's Manchester derby at Old Trafford. In the Women's Rugby World Cup, England face Scotland in the semi-final at Bristol's Ashton Gate.
Wet and windy weather is on the cards once again today. Find out just when that rain will arrive where you are in your full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. The business of NHS translators is really getting you going. A lot of people saying, a lot of migrants come here and say they can speak English. They claim that's, it's one of the things they claim. So, why do they suddenly need translators in A&E? The thing is, isn't it, the NHS is meant to reach out and help anyone. And if they come into A&E and they can't speak English, and it's about a medical concern, is it right to say, no, you said you could speak English? I don't think you can do that, can you?
I think the question is, as it always inevitably comes back to, is has there been too much migration into this country, which is forcing the NHS to pay over £100,000 per day, is it, on translators for hospitals? But then I suppose if you go abroad and you get ill abroad or you get injured abroad, then you need somebody to perhaps translate in English for you in a French or a Spanish hospital or Italian hospital. But I suppose it's disproportionate, perhaps, back in the United Kingdom. It's more permanent residents, maybe, rather than just people who are tourists.
With the progress of AI and the translate apps and everything, maybe it's not so necessary to actually have a human.
You said the business is very much a business by the sound of it, the lucrative business of NHS translations.
Yes. Well, maybe, automation may be the way forward. Let's see. You've got all these ChatGPT voice bots which can translate things pretty easily.
If I've got a problem, I'll just point to the area.
What did they do back in the day before you could call on a translator? Maybe they just didn't, and you just had to speak English.
Yeah.
Well, let us know your...
Actually, an awful lot of our doctors and nurses are probably able to speak multiple languages as well.
Yes.
So, I think so. I don't know. There has to be a better way, doesn't there, than spending all that money on translators?
Quite possibly. Well, let us know your thoughts, gbnews.com/your say on that one, because, of course, one of the big sticking points for the big Unite the Kingdom protest yesterday, of course, was stopping the boats and illegal migration.
Well, that's why a lot of people said they were there. That's our top story. 25... Now, I'm sorry if you feel I'm stressing the negative, because there were a lot of wonderful people, actually, who said really nice things at the big protest, at the big rally yesterday. But 25 protesters were arrested, 26 police officers injured, after approximately 150,000 people took to the streets of London yesterday. A lot of people think it was bigger than that, and a lot of them were there because of Tommy Robinson.
Yes, 150,000 people there, only 25 arrested. Some people have pointed out, of course, the Notting Hill Carnival, for example, last month had far more arrests. Anyway, over 1,500 police officers were deployed to the Unite for the Kingdom protest.
But it proved insufficient because violence did break out in some pockets between protesters and police, with the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood condemning protesters who targeted officers, promising that if they do that, they will face the full force of the law.
Well, it is yet another pressure point for the Prime Minister after a week which saw the US Ambassador Lord Mandelson sacked from the role over his links to the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The political drama of the last 2 weeks really has left the PM arguably in his weakest position since taking power, leaving even his own backbenchers wondering if his days are numbered.
Oh, and there may well be some backbenchers actually plotting too. Let's speak to political commentator John Oxley. How long do you give him?
I really don't know, but I think what we've seen in the last week or so is a real shift within the Labour Party and within the Labour Parliamentary Party of a move from going, this isn't going very well, but we can get it back, to starting to think about what the plan for after Keir Starmer is. I think a big pinch point is going to be the budget in November. An even bigger pinch point is going to be the elections in May of next year, where we have a lot of local elections in areas where the Labour Party should be strong. A lot of cities have their local elections, but also there are the devolved elections in Wales and in Scotland, where, again, Labour would expect, if they are doing well, to be comfortably the second party in Scotland, forming a government in Wales and being the biggest party. And at the moment, on the polling, they don't look like they're doing very well at all in either of those places or in those council elections.
Well, you look at the internal politics, let's say, of the Labour Party. You look at the front page of the Daily Express this morning, basically calling that Rachel Reeves the Chancellor in name only, saying, of course, or saying that she's been sidelined, perhaps in favour of her former deputy Darren Jones, who's now moved to a new role as Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister. You've got all the party divisions. You've got Angela Rayner being forced to resign. You've got Lord Mandelson being fired, and calls for transparency within Number 10 from opposition parties. And even backbench Labour MPs now are really starting to question the Prime Minister's judgment.
Yes, and we've seen this over a number of issues, pretty much since they came into power last year. There is a lot of frustration within the Labour Party around some of the policy decisions, around some of the things the Prime Minister has said, and just a general sense that this is a government that isn't really going anywhere. And I think we've been through the usual rounds of discussions you have about advisors and comms, but really the sense is coming out that, no, this is a problem that the man at the top is not giving sufficient direction, and particularly on the Mandelson thing, is not making the right decisions, and they're blowing up in front of him.
How on earth is he going to handle the Labour Party conference? Not next week, but the week after. I mean, he will probably want to play a starring role in the state visit, but that doesn't go down well with all of his supporters, does it? Sort of half the Labour Party. And also, this will still be hanging over his head, particularly if Peter Mandelson has anything more to say. How is he going to stand on that stage and give a rallying speech?
I think one of the things that we always start hearing about in these circumstances in politics is the word reset, and this idea that conference will be the time to try and tackle this again. But it goes back to, are the ideas there in his top team and within himself to really look at what the Labour Party want, what the country needs, and pull that together into a message that resonates? Or is it going to fall flat, and then with a difficult budget and then difficult local elections, it could really be the start of the final phase?
Do you think the state visit is going to help Sir Keir Starmer perhaps get a slightly better approval rating ahead of the Labour Party conference? For example, if there is some kind of extra trade deal done, or if Donald Trump concedes something to the United Kingdom, or could it go the other way, of course, and the whole Lord Mandelson issue and Epstein issue completely overshadows the whole state visit?
It's generally been the case, and it is generally the case, that Prime Ministers doing big statesman stuff looks good for them, and we've seen that a number of times. For Starmer, that him being out on the big stage has boosted polling a bit. We know that there is a sort of surprisingly good relationship, seemingly, between him and President Trump, and there may be a few sweeteners that come out. So I think there's certainly the opportunity there. It's whether it's enough to convince a Labour Party that is looking not just at that stuff, but looking at the public spending commitments, the tax commitments that are coming forward in the budget and the general state of the party, whether it's enough to really bolster Starmer's position within his own party.
I wonder if Keir Starmer is sitting at his computer asking ChatGPT, how do I make a speech, you know, stressing the positive and completely ignoring the negative? I don't know. What's he going to do? It'll be a fascinating time,
Absolutely.
won't it? Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
On the subject of expensive translators in the NHS, Jodie has been in touch. She says, my husband was a doctor in New York City. When a patient didn't speak English, a tannoy request went out for a volunteer to interpret. No cost incurred.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And Aid actually says NHS translators ? All smartphones now do translation, which they do, of course. No cost at all. So why not use that? Is what they are suggesting.
It's just
now.
that would it be sensitive enough in a sensitive medical situation? It would certainly be at least an opening, wouldn't it?
It would be helpful, but I suppose in a critical medical emergency, you're going to want a reliable translation service. And can, you know, apps such as Google Translate be reliable? I don't know. We'll see.
OK, we'll move on because it's 11 minutes, but well, it's very nearly 12 minutes past 7 already. Time for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to be our biggest winner to date. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest prize giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people, comes with integrated bathroom and kitchen areas, has plenty of storage and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck with that. Now, the memorial service for Charlie Kirk is set to take place next Sunday in his home state of Arizona.
On Wednesday, as you know by now, the father of 2 was fatally gunned down while debating students at Utah Valley University.
Well, a 22-year-old man called Tyler Robinson was arrested 33 hours later in connection to the killing.
In a GB News exclusive, the director of the US National Institutes of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, has said he's being forced to increase his security in response to the rise in political violence. And he's worried about that effect going all over the country, maybe the world. Let's take a listen to what he told GB News health editor Lucy Johnston.
I actually got to know Charlie a little bit. In fact, I was on his like show just a little while before he died a couple of months ago. And I have a great admiration for him. He had a young family, obviously very brave. He I was a professor. He clearly had a joy in and a desire to talk to young people and reason with them. I mean, as a professor, I shared that mission. And the fact that he was essentially assassinated in a college campus setting it hits home really hard to me. We need a society where we can talk to each other even if we disagree. We can reason together. If anyone who talked to Charlie Kirk for 5 minutes would realize what a good human being he was. He even if you disagreed with him, like he cared about people, he cared about his family, he cared about doing good. And you may disagree about what his notion of the good is, but you can talk with him, reason with him, and change his mind. I actually had a conversation with him where I think I changed his mind. I got death threats constantly for several years. I got a tremendous pressure from my university to be silent. And you said I was blacklisted by Twitter. My own government undertook activities to make sure that my point of view did not get out into the community at large and on social media and elsewhere. It was heartbreaking, and sometimes it was just scary. I was actually afraid to walk around Stanford campus. There were posters everywhere, essentially threatened. I felt like there were death threats against me as a result of my advocacy during the pandemic. They want me to have a little more security than I'm used to having. I don't really love that, but I mean, you know, I'd love to be able to ride the metro freely and openly, but everyone's telling me I shouldn't be doing that. I have to keep doing my job. I mean, I'm not here to protect myself. I'm here to accomplish the mission of the NIH, which is to advance people's health, to improve health. I mean, that's my purpose, you know, of my career, and I'm going to keep doing that.
Well, let's speak to the Republicans Overseas UK Chairman Greg Swenson. Greg, good morning to you.
Morning.
I think what's really heartbreakingly telling is Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, doing that live stream statement where she says, "You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country," perhaps referring to the martyrdom that Charlie now has. But the country is still deeply polarised. How can you stop this fighting?
I think you know that's one of the things Charlie was trying to accomplish, and I think he was reaching out to people that normally wouldn't be, you know, a conservative or wouldn't think that way or didn't have a lifestyle that was conservative, and he was able to persuade, and I think that's what she's implying here. So yeah, it's polarized. There's no doubt about that, but I think it will be less polarized as more people see what he was all about, and that people are surprised. People that just heard him as a right-wing commentator or something are realizing he's just common sense. He was speaking common sense.
That's the trouble. A lot of people now who stick their head above the parapet are being labelled far left or far right or extremist or something like that by people who've never actually heard what they have to say.
Exactly.
I mean, I didn't know Charlie Kirk well at all. I'd heard the name, but I have since been watching a lot of his work on YouTube. And I don't agree with everything he said, but I totally respect his right to have said it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have called him far right, really.
No. I mean,
he was right-wing, yes.
Yeah.
Because in a way he espoused old-fashioned values.
That's right.
And sometimes, and Christian values, which don't appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
But just because he doesn't appeal to everybody doesn't make him a far-right extremist.
That's right. I mean, it shows you the complete absurdity of the criticisms coming from the left-leaning media in the United States, for example, and it's a shame. And now I think his wife, Erica, was right in suggesting that this movement has grown phenomenally, and a lot of the students that were persuaded, great, they've improved their lives, they've become better people. It also allowed for the conservative students to basically come out of the closet. You know, it was really difficult 4 or 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, to be a conservative on a college campus or in an office, you know, the first-time jobs. And my daughter, who went to Notre Dame and was one of the leaders of the Turning Point at Notre Dame, she couldn't come out of the closet when she started at Goldman Sachs. You know, here it was.
Well, she was worried when she started a city job, as it were, that if people knew that she was Turning Point and a Charlie Kirk enthusiast,
not on the resume,
that would be held against her.
Right, and that has changed phenomenally. And yesterday in the college football stadiums all over the country, you know, Saturdays are the college football days, stadiums with 100,000 people in it, the players, the teams were taking their helmets off and kneeling down and praying at the game for Charlie Kirk.
What were you saying about a video that you watched that had how many followers? Of one of his...
40 million views on his YouTube.
40 million views!
This is a Martin Luther King Jr. moment in America. As crazy as that sounds, that's the phenomenon, because it's a different time, because it's social media. It's a you know, he's got a reach that Martin Luther King Jr. did not have because of the
because there was no internet,
So it's really that's the level of martyrdom in this case. And
we look at the man accused of killing him, Tyler Robinson, 22 years old. And I look back to the attempt on President Trump's life last year. Again, a very young man, described by neighbours as a bit of a loner, a very quiet boy.
Yeah.
I may be, speculating a little bit here, but there seems to be a pattern where it's like young men
Yes, and
who are carrying out these violent acts.
Same with the CEO of United Healthcare that was gunned down, killed in New York City. Same profile on the shooter, and it's young, perhaps lonely, or young men with mental health issues, so they're vulnerable to being radicalized. It's not too dissimilar from the Islamist radicalization, where you have young, vulnerable men, and obviously with some issues, some mental health issues. But this is why I think the rhetoric needs to be dialed down in terms of the criticism from the left, because it's often not true. Like what the names they called Charlie Kirk were not true.
No, and they allege it. They say he said things which he didn't say.
Right, yeah.
Because they haven't checked.
Yeah, well, they say he didn't support gay people at all. No, that's not the case. He didn't support gay marriage, but he absolutely, said you can be gay if you want to.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I was on Al Jazeera a few days ago, and I watched it the next day, and the footer that they were running, which I couldn't see when I was on air, the footer was saying, Charlie Kirk known to make comments that were homophobic,
but he didn't.
Racist, all non-true.
I've been watching his videos.
Yeah, they had 4 adjectives to describe him, all 4 of which were untrue, and this is after he died.
Yeah, but that's just to show the dangers of social media, because these radicals with mental health issues get trapped in this echo chamber where they're constantly being told that Charlie Kirk is full of hate, he's homophobic, he's
Trump's
racist,
a Nazi, Trump's a Hitler,
and then they believe it and then carry out an act.
But how do you dial that down?
Yeah.
I mean, the internet just seems to blow up of its own accord. How do you dial down this rhetoric?
Well, I mean, I think it has to start with leaders, with political leaders, and it doesn't help when Democrat congressmen are one of the men and women are often the ones starting all that vitriol. And that's, so I think it has to come from the top.
Although President Trump this week in a Fox News interview said the radical left are far worse than the radical right, which arguably isn't dying down.
Right.
It isn't helpful.
I think, we can make the argument, how many incidents were there on the right, how many on the left. I think we would win that argument, but I don't think that's productive either. And so I think it's, both sides can dial it down. And, I don't like to use the war reference, that we're in a war. No, we're not in a war. We have some political disagreements, but I do think that it has to come from the top, and I hope that happens quickly.
Okay. Well, Greg Swenson, thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Great to see you. Thank you very much. Right, well, I suppose on that note, it's time to get the weather. Let's hope it's slightly better news from Tom Morgan.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be north-eastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon, and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That window will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK, and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular. Gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers though across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Do stay with us, because still to come we're asking, has the Prime Minister lost all faith in the Chancellor? Is Rachel Reeves Chancellor in name only? That's what some commentators are saying this morning.
But first, meat-free Mondays. What do you think? Should we be encouraging schools to ditch the practice? We'll be debating that next. This is GB News Breakfast with Cameron and Anne.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
And with a dynastic touch, George Martin's son, Giles Martin, is involved in all of this.
Yes, so he's the keeper of his father's flame, really, which is very touching.
It's very, very touching. How can it be? I mean, we've been talking about a band here that was playing before we were able to send pictures across the Atlantic. How can a band that is that old cause such excitement today?
Well, it's such a number of elements. They encapsulated so much of the early 20th century music. Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Tim Panally through Paul McCartney's father. He grew up hearing his father playing the piano. He had a big jazz band. They played around Liverpool. So all of that music went into the Beatles' crucible. And I find it so interesting that Decca get ribbed for turning them down. But those early sessions are not showing them at their best. And they say guitar bands are on their way out, but actually it took the Beatles to bring them back and show everybody a completely different scene, a completely different imagination of what guitar music can be. It took the Beatles 3 albums to really get into their stride, because their first 2, let's not forget, were sort of covers in a way. So there's a few of their own songs in there.
Yeah,
but
a lot of covers.
But with Hard Day's Night, it's all their own tracks. And what can I say? The energy of them, the invention of them, when you watch Get Back, you see how much craftsmanship they put into constructing a completely unique song. That's the thing about the Beatles. Each song is so unique. There's no replication in any of their output.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 7:28 and you're watching and listening to Breakfast with Cameron and Anne.
Now, children are back in the classroom now. Oh, thank goodness for that. But it means another year for them, anyway, of school lunches.
I quite like school lunches, to be fair. But have you heard of meat-free Mondays in primary school? Well, it's proving even controversial, with some claiming it takes away business from farmers.
Our lovely GB News reporter Anna Riley has been looking into a campaign in East Yorkshire to stop primary schools taking part.
Meat-free Mondays. Over 3,500 schools take part in the UK, and once a week it's only vegetarian meals on the menu. But Councillor Leo Hammond wants this to change for pupils in East Yorkshire.
My petition that I'm asking the public to support calls for compulsory procurement targets for the council to buy its food locally. The petition also calls for an end to the climate change menu that the council has introduced, where schools who source their food from the council get the option, if the school decides, to force children to eat meat-free meals at school, regardless of the child or the parents' views on that. I think that's wrong. I firmly believe in the freedom of choice of parents and children to decide what they eat. So I want to go back to the sensible option of having 5 meat options and 5 meat-free options a week, and let the parents and children to decide.
The campaign also calls for the council to source more produce from farms in the area. It's a scheme backed by East Yorkshire pig farmer Anna Longthorpe.
It's not up to councils, it's not up to schools to put their ideology onto our children. We should be offering them a balanced, nutritious diet and enable them to get all of the nutrients that they need, which includes meat. We'd be far better looking at supporting local farmers, supporting local businesses. We've got a real opportunity here in East Yorkshire. We produce pretty much everything that we need. And we've got big, food, the processors here as well. We've got the logistical network. So if we could get all of those people together, all of those businesses together, we could do something really quite special here, I think, in East Yorkshire, and get local food in local schools.
East Riding of Yorkshire Council said school menus are created by a team of school meals experts who adhere to the school food standards, ensuring children eat a healthy, balanced diet. Each school, in consultation with governors, chooses their lunch menu. This includes whether they want to include a climate day, supporting the school's curriculum and ethos. Parents and the public can sign the End Meat Free Monday petition online. Anna Riley, GB News.
Well, let's debate this topic now. Should schools stop doing meat-free Mondays? And we're joined by the vegan campaigner Dr. Kush Naker and Director of External Affairs at the Countryside Alliance, Mo Metcalf-Fisher. Good morning to both of you. Kush, let's start with you. You like the idea, don't you, of meat-free Mondays? Why?
Well, so I work as a doctor, so I obviously care about the health of our children, as I'm sure all of us do. And what we know is that less than 1 in 10 children manages to get their 5 a day of fruit and veg. And more than a third of the meat that is consumed by children is processed meat. So both of those things tell you that these kids are eating foods that are clearly linked to causing bowel cancer, and they're not eating enough of the fruit and veg that we know that they need to get healthy. We've got a childhood obesity crisis. We've got children becoming less and less healthy. One of the most important steps that we need to do is to get them eating less meat and more fruit and veg.
Mo, there's nothing wrong with once a week, surely, eating something that is meat-free?
I agree with the campaigners that were speaking earlier. I think it should be a choice for parents and not campaigners and activists. I think it's incumbent on schools to provide a range of options. I do agree with your other speaker. I think we need to look at the processed options that are available to kids. There's no dispute there as to the negative impact that has. But I would say that a lot of the vegan options that are in schools can also be highly processed, and that's something we need to move away from. We need to focus the discussion not on removing meat and demonising by default livestock farming practice in this country, but talking about how we can get the very best produce, whether it's meat, dairy or vegetables, into our schools. And that's why the Countryside Alliance are leading a campaign to get local councils to sign up to a scheme that would see them sourcing local produce and moving away from heavily processed and imported food that has environmental and health negatives.
Kush, what's wrong with that if we get rid of that processed food and make it more healthy by buying local?
Listen, I'm all for buying local, but what is on the menu does influence what gets consumed. And we can see that kids in this country are eating more than twice the global average of meat. And that has huge consequences on the environment. if you look at the amount of land that it takes to make just one hamburger, we're talking like more than 100 football fields worth of land. It's absolutely insane the amount of resources that go into producing meat that is like, you know, our children need a sustainable world in which they'll be able to grow up in. And I completely agree that we need to be shifting towards eating more local food, supporting farmers. But why aren't we supporting them in growing fruit and veg rather than just meat?
Very, very briefly from you, Mo, your reaction?
Well, 65% of the land in this country is used for grazing livestock, grows grass, and it wouldn't be suitable to grow any other foods on it. So the problem with this, you know, compulsory plant-based narrative is that it just fails to understand that if we were to remove livestock from grazing, that grass would be useless. It wouldn't serve, unless you're advocating for children eating grass burgers. I don't know what it is you really want to achieve. We need to reset the discussion. We need to focus on supporting our farmers,
We could rewild
whether they're
that land, though,
livestock
couldn't
farmers.
we? We've also got a biodiversity crisis in this country.
Yeah, and a lot of vegan alternative products that end up on the shelves and in schools are also very unsustainable.
But we're actually not talking about veganism, we're talking about meat-free. But we've got to leave it there, I'm afraid, anyway, because we're out of time. Thank you so much, gentlemen, both. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard says, we had fish on the Fridays at school. I think I did as well. Fish Fridays.
What's
fish and
wrong
chips.
with meat-free on a Monday, fish on a Friday, and all right, if you want meat for the middle 3 days, meat
can
is
have it.
still in the... Yeah, why not?
Well, parents and farmers say it's about choice. What do you think? GBnews.com.
Don't give kids too much choice either. I mean, don't provide both for them so they can make a choice.
To be fair, I would have had turkey twizzlers every day if I was allowed when I was 5.
And you're all right, is it?
I've come out all right. I've got my oats here with, yes, some nice, what have I got? Porridge oats, bananas. Healthy.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter, yes.
Banana.
Would recommend.
I'm surprised he can speak, that his mouth's not glued together.
I've got a tea as well. It's
Anyway,
really good.
still to come, we're going to be looking through the newspapers. Boris Becker tells all in one of the newspapers today on how he survived 230 days in prison. Quite interesting read. We'll find out what he said next.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's time 7:40. Time to go through the sport now with Aidan McGee. Good morning.
Good morning again.
Boris Becker.
Yes, there is a fascinating serialisation of his time in prison, which has been... Well, it's on 2 double-page spreads in the Mail on Sunday, and I have to say it's compelling reading. It really is. I mean, he was. Let's cast our time back to May 2022. You and I, Anne, covered it in detail, didn't we? The fact that he was sent to prison for 2.5 years for 4 offences under the Insolvency Act. Basically, he was somebody he couldn't control, or he couldn't adapt.
He couldn't control his money at all.
He couldn't.
He made very unwise investments and then got into trouble for lying about them.
You see it. You see it a lot in sport, or in other areas of celebrity, where the income isn't quite what it was in their heyday, yet they can't adjust their lifestyle. But he did 6 months in Wandsworth Prison, which is only about 3 miles from the Centre Court at Wimbledon, and then he was transferred to Huntercombe in Oxfordshire. Now, he talks about the efforts in just earning privileges, having to befriend an Albanian drug dealer, a people smuggler, who said, "I've been in here for many years, Boris, but I'm going to have to go back to the life that I'm doing, that I was accustomed to, because I was earning £500,000 a month."
Wow!
He had to fight. He said it's too good to give it up. He had a very muscular Albanian cocaine dealer as well, who he had to befriend to earn privileges. There was a murderer, there was a paedophile. He saw a paedophile get mercilessly beaten up, and but all the while he's having to watch the tennis from his cell, locked up 22 hours a day. He got to become what's known as an orderly in the gym, and he was happy there because he befriended a guy called Andy Small, who showed him around the gym and told him exactly what he had to do to earn the privileges that he felt he'd earned the right to.
And when you think of it, from somebody who had been a world champion,
yes,
and a globally recognised figure, at the age of 17, he won Wimbledon.
Extraordinary.
That must have been... I mean, yes, a lot of people say, you know, you do the crime, you've got to do the time.
Yes.
And he did do the time, but it must have been very, very difficult.
Well, he actually said he relied on that kind of mentality in the locker room, Cameron. 1985, Kevin Curran in the final of the men's Wimbledon singles. And he was in the locker room then, and he had to show bravado that belied his 17 years, let's be honest about it. I mean, he was told by his coach, go to the nearest seat to make your opponent walk all the way around, just a little psychological advantage. Fascinating stuff. But he said he had to show that the same level of bravado going up against people he doesn't know. He didn't know their backgrounds until he started talking to them. And he said there was a guard who just would not give him an inch. He said he felt he was told you're going to be moved into a different wing on the ground floor in a week's time, but he just kept him waiting another week, another week, another week. And eventually, of course, he was deported to Germany. And we're seeing him take up some commentary roles again. I think he'd be a loss to the sport if we never saw him again. Don't forget, it was quite recently he coached Novak Djokovic.
Yes, that's right.
To two Grand Slam titles. And one of the great characters of the sport. As you say, he's done his time. I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't see him back in a commentary role.
Well, he's got a book to sell now. That's the one that's serialised. And by all accounts, I've read a fair bit of it too. It sounds absolutely fascinating.
It does.
Worth a read. OK. Good on you, Boris. You've done your time. It'd be nice to see you back.
So the food could have been worse as well.
The food, what, in the prison? Oh, really?
Could have been worse.
Could have been worse.
Yeah.
Gosh. OK.
That's complimentary to the chef, isn't it?
Right, thank you, Aidan.
Cheers.
See you next time.
Okie doke. Well, still to come, the Emmys are taking place in Los Angeles tonight. And the Netflix drama, Adolescence, the one they were all talking about, well, it is a favourite.
More on that next with Lewis and Emma. But first, if you're in some search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading off to the Mediterranean, then there's plenty of dry, sunny and very warm weather on offer over the next few days. There may well be a few showers just moving into the far north of Portugal and the far north of Spain on Monday, but most of Iberia, dry, sunny and very warm, if not hot. The same across Italy, most of Greece, the Balkans and Turkey. Just one or two afternoon thunderstorms here and there. And the outlook is for it to stay pretty settled, dry and sunny for the vast majority and very warm indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
What do you think is the origin of this palace not being loved by the royal family as a place to live?
Well, you see, it's a little bit like an Edwardian hotel in Brighton. It's all long corridors and rooms off them. It's not very friendly as a place, you know. So the Queen and Prince Philip occupied the rooms along the Constitution Hill side. She had half of them and he had the other half. And if ever they came out into a corridor, you know, so it's just not very friendly. And of course, the other thing is that the gardens are now terribly overlooked by the Hilton and other big buildings, whereas the King living at Clarence House, he has a very nice garden there and it's not overlooked at all. I mean, I have seen Prince Philip's rooms because I worked with his office a lot and I did a book about his mother, so I was there quite often. I haven't seen the Queen's rooms, but I'd love to see them.
Yes. And at the beginning of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, the palace was not open to the public at all, was it?
No, it wasn't. And actually, she didn't want to go and live there either. She was living in Clarence House, but Churchill said that it was sovereign's residence and she had to move in. He forced her to move in. That was quite tricky because the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret were still living there at the beginning. And then they moved into Clarence House a little while later, somewhat before the coronation. The only reason that the palace was open as a public tourist attraction was to make money to pay for the fire damage of 1992 at Windsor Castle. And that was so successful that the opening has gone on ever since, and it raises money for the Royal Collection Trust in order to look after all the treasures which are held by the sovereign for the nation.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Joining us to go through the papers is the writer and political commentator Emma Wolfe and writer and broadcaster Lewis Oakley. Good morning.
Lewis, you've been looking at the Sunday Express, which has got a story saying that Rachel Reeves is now a chancellor in name only. Why?
Yes, well, they report that the Prime Minister is appointing his own economic advisors and is going to form a budget board in attempt to minimise chaos because he's lost confidence in Rachel Reeves, but he's publicly backed her as he publicly backs everyone, so he can't be seen to say goodbye to someone else. I think that this could be a good idea, though, because at this time, especially when it comes to the budget and the finances of the country, we are in a mess. Actually outsourcing it to the Chancellor and saying, look, you just deal with it on your own. Actually, no, I think that there should be more coordination between number 10 and number 11. You probably do want that power centralised, because historically, when number 10 and number 11 are at loggerheads, it spooks the markets, it's bad for business. So actually, I think good, like, do it together. We check each other's homework. We're effectively getting two chancellors for the price of one. So I actually think this is probably what you should be doing as a responsible Prime Minister.
It's awful for her, though.
Yeah. I don't care about her feelings. I care about the country.
Well, you say do it together. As long as they do it together, it always seems that departments are, as you say, are at loggerheads. People are trying to sort of, you know, the backstabbing, all of that. Running the economy, especially in the state it's in now, fixing the economy, trying to do something, is such a huge job. And even if we had someone a lot more qualified and talented than our current Chancellor, then yes, you need all hands on deck. But at the moment, it's looking like an absolute disaster. My next story is these predictions from the US economist Arthur Laffer. You remember the Laffer curve? He's famous for the Laffer curve. He's been saying that there's a fresh budget raid that we're expecting at the budget in November is going to prove completely self-defeating. More attacks, more budget raids on businesses and workers are literally going to do exactly the opposite, that we've reached a critical point at which we're not raising any more money by these taxes. We are actually damaging the economy, and we know
yes,
that.
It's ruining small businesses. It's making life very hard for them and for other employers who would otherwise be looking for people to employ, but are not.
It's too expensive to hire people. Businesses are not investing. You know, millionaires, billionaires are leaving the country, and the cost, as you say, the cost of work, the cost of employment is now so high and such a risk to many small and medium-sized businesses that they simply are not expanding. They're not even taking people on. They're laying people off.
And you can feel it. I mean, I work for a small company as my day job, and even the people that we just interact with and things, the people are just more cautious than ever. Decisions are taking longer. You can really feel that effect in the economy. And for personal people as well, we can't be taxed anymore. The physical drag, as people are getting pay rises but falling into higher tax brackets, it's people are breaking even. Even me doing this work, so I have a full-time job, and then I come and chat with you guys and do the papers. I had to do my tax return at the top of the year, and I basically had to pay it all back, everything I made. I was like, what's the point of waking up at 4 a.m? And I think that's what it comes to for ordinary people. Is like, what is the point? I'm just giving it all away in tax.
Growth. I mean, that was the first thing she said in her first budget. It's what Starmer got elected on. They wanted growth.
Well, they did want growth, but they also gave us about 4 weeks of doom and gloom.
Yes.
It was horrific when they first came in, and it's only got worse, really.
But the alternative for Rachel Reeves, of course, to fill this £50 billion shortfall,
which is getting bigger every month by what, 2 billion?
Yes,
is it every month?
I think the cost of borrow, it's over 27-year high borrowing costs.
And we have a stagnant economy, flatlining economy. There was no growth in July.
Yeah.
There was no growth.
But the alternative is cutting public services, which is not going to go down well.
There are so many other alternatives, Cameron.
Maybe they
How many billions are we sending abroad? I know I always come back to foreign aid, but if we don't have enough money here...
Can you imagine a Labour government cutting foreign aid?
Can you imagine us stopping sending billions abroad when we don't have money for basic public services here and when we are taxing people, individuals and businesses to the hilt?
And surely the only sense to borrowing money is you have to do something with the money. You have to build.
We're just paying for the cost of borrowing at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't have sold off the Chagos Islands.
Well, maybe
just
we
a thought.
shouldn't and paid them for it.
And I just think it's this sense as well. Some of the things we've been talking about, you know, migrant hotels and the cost of translations we were talking about before. I think people wouldn't be so enraged about that if people felt better off and felt like, you know what, we can afford it. But right now, things are so tight, households are so tight, businesses are so tight. I don't know the way out of this. It's a really horrible situation.
Look, we've only got about a minute and a half left, and everybody is really interested in what Peter Mandelson might say, for instance, or what any further Epstein emails might say about Prince Andrew at such a sensitive time.
It is such a sensitive time, and apparently, Cameron will know more, but apparently there's a cache of at least 100 more emails, probably more, set to break any minute, set to come out very soon, which are going to further trash the reputation of Andrew.
I mean, it's quite hard for him to sink any lower in the court of public opinion, to be honest. He has, of course, denied all the allegations made against him, but of course,
it's not stopping.
Lewis,
you look at the very front page of the Mail
on Sunday.
100 new Epstein emails could destroy Andrew.
I think, look, there has to be due process. We don't know what's in these emails. Have they been verified yet? So everyone maybe needs to calm down a little bit. But as you say, like, how much further could someone fall? I guess with these emails, is there going to be any legal implications? That would be where it gets really tricky. Would he be summoned to America?
Well, I don't know. I think
and
that's
let's remember Virginia Giuffre has since died. She was the principal accuser of Andrew, I mean, he seems to be pictured now mostly behind the wheel of a car in his private estate, looking really, really uncomfortable and like a haunted man.
I know.
As you say, how much further can his reputation fall? Yeah.
For Trump.
Sort of royal, but not royalty.
Yeah. We've got to leave it there, sadly, but we will see you again. So thanks very much indeed. Time for the weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen in. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be north-eastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon, and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That wind, though, will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers though across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day.
bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Are the Prime Minister's days numbered?
As the pressure mounts on Sir Keir Starmer to explain what he knew of Lord Mandelson's friendship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and when.
With reports that even backbenchers have lost all faith in their leader, could this be the scandal that brings down the government?
At least 150,000 protesters take to the streets of London for Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally. There were 25 arrests and 26 officers were injured.
The first Channel migrants are set to be deported to France tomorrow. But could lawyers actually launch an 11th hour bid and stop it all happening?
And the memorial of Charlie Kirk is set to take place next Sunday after Donald Trump's state visit to the UK this week. GB News exclusively reveals the head of America's top medical research body has been told to increase his security following Kirk's assassination.
I got death threats constantly for several years. I got a tremendous pressure from my university to be silent. And you said I was blacklisted by Twitter. My own government undertook activities to make sure that my point of view did not get out.
And as National Prayer Week comes to a close today, we'll take a break from the busy news cycle to reflect.
It was a busy day of Premier League action with wins for Arsenal, Newcastle and Tottenham, with all eyes on today's Manchester derby at the Etihad Stadium. In the Women's Rugby World Cup, England faced Scotland in the semi-final at Ashton Gate in Bristol.
Wet and windy weather is on the cards once again today. Find out just when that rain will arrive where you are in your full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Ann Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. Now, it's lovely that Cameron is here today. Mind you, I'm surprised because you've been working really hard and you're going to be working really hard next week because it is the state visit.
Yes, no rest for the wicked, yes. Wednesday, Donald Trump, President, and Melania, First Lady, will arrive in Windsor Castle, greeted by the Prince and Princess of Wales, and then shipped off to meet the King and Queen. So he is going to be treated, President Trump, to a massive military spectacle. It will dwarf what President Macron had a couple of months ago, so it is going to be quite something, let's say, because we know, of course, President Trump really appreciates the hospitality of the royal family.
And he loves the pomp and ceremony. But you've been inside Windsor Castle. I have too. In fact, I did a radio programme from Windsor Castle. You had to describe everything on the radio. But they showed me into the beautiful banqueting hall, which
St.
is
George's Hall.
Massive. And it was all laid out for a banquet that was due. And, I mean, you wouldn't believe the precision with which they lay the knives and the forks. Everything's measured.
It is.
The ruler. And it looks...
What's measured? Sorry, what?
The distances between different people's places, place settings, and also the distance between the top of the knife and the wine glass. And everything's measured, so it looks utterly spectacular.
And as a royal correspondent, I get a sneak peek inside St George's Hall just before the banquet. So they basically take us in a couple of hours before, either Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle. They take us into the room and they say, OK, off you go. And we get to wander around everywhere within the room, look at all the table settings, look at who sat where, smell the beautiful food.
See who is sitting where.
See who's sitting where before the banquet happens, which is always a good story.
Will you get a bite to eat?
And, sorry?
Will you get a bite to eat?
We do, but we don't get to eat
the King will be next to President Trump.
Yes.
But then Camilla...
She'll be opposite, so she's usually at Windsor Castle opposite the other side of the table.
There's a bunch of flowers and a load of candles in between so they can't see each other.
And 2 hidden microphones as well for the King and the head of state to deliver their speech as well.
So where would Melania be?
She will probably be sat next to the Prince of Wales, but of course we'll...
Yes. They're all turning out.
Melania will be of the... Yes, they'll all be there, usually, apart from Edward and Sophie, who I think are in Japan on an official overseas visit on behalf of the government, so...
Haven't we all warmed to them as well?
Yes, I think they are really, filling in the gaps where we've fallen short of working members of the royal family.
I think it's particularly Sophie. I did an awards thing with Sophie, and I think she's doing such a fantastic job. And she clearly was Queen Elizabeth's one of her real favourites, wasn't
she was. And I spent time with her a couple of weeks ago in the summer, where one of the veterans, VJ Day, couldn't make it to the big ceremony that was happening in the country where the King and Queen were because he was too old. He was 105. So Sophie went to him in the care home, and it was wonderful. Yeah,
it's wonderful. It
is, and royal family epitome of duty, isn't it? So let's.
Well, some of them are.
Most of them are. Well, of course, yes. We've been discussing somebody on the front page of the Mail who perhaps isn't quite so, but back in the day he was, of course, he was faulted.
OK, let's get on with the politics, because it's really interesting at the moment, and it can't be a very nice time for the Prime Minister at the moment. He's under such pressure. I mean, a lot of people making the remarks that he brought it upon himself, but of course reports are coming out now that his own backbenchers have lost faith in him.
Yes, Keir is under fire over what he knew of Lord Mandelson's friendship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and when, of course.
Now, this all comes after the Prime Minister suffered the loss of his Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, just over a week ago. Do you remember, after Prime Minister's questions, when he had full faith in her, and then she resigned? This all leaves Downing Street's hope of a reset after recess in tatters.
Well, let's speak now to the political commentator, John Oxley. John, good morning to you. I just have to talk to you about the people around the Prime Minister, let's say. His Chief of Staff, of course, has come under quite a lot of fire, as well as the Prime Minister, about the judgment calls they have made over the last few weeks. And, of course, embarrassing for the Prime Minister, saying he has full confidence in first Angela Rayner and then Lord Mandelson. Both of them are gone within a day or two.
Yes, and absolutely. What we've seen here is with these two scandals is the Prime Minister really failed to get ahead of what's going on and really failing to show the appropriate caution for the risk that something more would come out. And I think even at the time before he went and defended Peter Mandelson had already said, oh, there's worse to come. And he looked very stupid. And it throws into question his judgment and those around him that, first in picking Peter Mandelson, but also elsewhere, when these things come up, are you getting ahead of them? Are you dealing with them quickly? Because all governments have ministers or MPs that do something unfortunate. But what we saw in the last government and what we're seeing now is this strange routine where you go on and defend them for 24 or 36 hours. Then it gets worse, and then eventually you sack them, whereas you could have made that decision 2 days ago and at least you got it off the pages quickly.
Yeah, and then your own judgment is brought into question, which is what's happening to him. Rachel Reeves must be wondering if she's going to suffer the same fate, because he has now appointed a special financial advisor.
Yes, so we've seen sort of more of Keir Starmer's people coming in, the move of Darren Jones, and I think it's going to be a very big budget for Rachel Reeves in November and for the country. And one of the things you start to think as a Prime Minister is, if you're in trouble, do you want to try the reset? Do you want to shake things up? And does that mean replacing your Chancellor, which is a big sign that you're reconsidering? And I think there will be a lot of pressure there as well.
Do you think the communication strategy of Number 10 is on top form? Why didn't the Prime Minister, for example, when he was asked by Kemi Badenoch at Prime Minister's questions about Lord Mandelson, why didn't he just say, we are investigating what was or wasn't said to Jeffrey Epstein, and as soon as I have more details, I'll get back to you? Why did he say, I have full confidence, when he knew, or at least people around him knew, that the Foreign Office was investigating these emails that Bloomberg had come out with?
Absolutely. I think there are real problems with the communications around Downing Street, but ultimately they stem from the judgment of the people in Downing Street, the decisions they are making, because comms ultimately is just about polishing. And I think what we're seeing from that is a real lack of strategy, a real lack of getting on top of the issues. And particularly with that Peter Mandelson thing, it wasn't simply that he came into Parliament and said, I stand by him. He had clearly made that decision at that time to stand by him, even though a lot of people are anticipating there was worse things to come. And that's just an error of judgment rather than an error of communication.
Well, we'll see what happens next. Anything could happen in the next few days, I think. John, thanks very much indeed. At 9 minutes past 8, let's get the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be north-eastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon, and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That wind, though, will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers though across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, the Unite the Kingdom rally through central London yesterday has been making huge headlines. Some for the wrong reasons, some for an underestimation, actually, I think, of how many people were there. Depends who you speak to. There were 25 protesters arrested. There were 26 police officers injured. But it was a far bigger picture than just that.
Yes, the march was organised by Tommy Robinson, with Elon Musk delivering a live video message to protesters.
Well, one of our lovely viewers has said Doogie Beattie was there. Why don't you talk to him? Funnily enough, here he is.
Good to see you in the studio, Doogie.
Indeed, great to be here.
How many do you think were there?
I estimates at 110,000. I would say it was at least 3 times that. I mean, what was leaving Waterloo was easily 110,000. It was the kingdom coming to London. Every flag from the United Kingdom, and surprisingly to me, the Republic of Ireland represented there. There was full of mothers, grandmothers, fathers, sons. You know, I was amazed at the width of the population in London yesterday. It was amazing. And when they left Waterloo and started to go down through London, the ones from Birmingham joined at different points, all around the kingdom joined at different points. And as they made their way into Whitehall, there was huge numbers, and I mean so many. I mean, Whitehall would have had 110, 150,000 in it. And I mean, I spoke to a few families who actually took their children out of there because they were afraid of a crush coming from the back to the front. And the only mistake really, that the organisers made yesterday, because they were perfect the whole way through, their stewards were fantastic, was that they didn't take enough of Whitehall before they put the stage up. They could have went right in to the back of the MOD and further on up where the counter-protest was and still filled it. But the problem came yesterday was on the bridge at Westminster, because there were so many of them.
Nowhere to go. Yeah.
There was nowhere to go. The
Yeah.
police, the police decided to then put them off and down this inside of the embankment. And there was different police forces from all over the UK were brought in to help. And at that point, I don't think there was anything malicious in it. I genuinely think it was a miscommunication of police. Right at embankment, they redirected them, which really took them round the back of Whitehall, straight into the counter-protest.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching you spoke to a man who was saying, we're being kettled, and then the police attacked us. Was he over-exaggerating? What was he on about?
Well, they did feel as if they were being kettled. I do think it was a genuine mistake by the police forces that were there. I mean, we walked back up to where that was. We could see confusion in amongst the police, but I genuinely don't think it was anything malicious, because the amount of people in there, I mean, coming from Northern Ireland, I have seen the police deal with public disorder, and they would rather, you know, keep it separate and push it away. The police were put in an impossible situation there yesterday, and one or two mistakes pushed them down in towards the other protesters, and that's when the flashpoint started to erupt. I mean, at one point I was on air and I said, we have to get out of here, this is getting very prickly. There was actually a flare came in from somewhere, was at my feet, and when I was on air I kicked it away, and I kicked it straight at the feet of a policeman.
Oh no.
who
You're
then kicked it up the road. But you're afraid at that stage it would be fireworks or something else, you know, that would land at your feet. But all in all, a fantastic day.
What about the Elon Musk moment?
Well, the Elon Musk moment was, even for me as a reporter to stand there and sit and watch him arrive on the screen, it was a great, I don't know, a great thing for Tommy Robinson to have done. He managed to achieve something that not many people have done, and the crowd went wild when he appeared on stage. Didn't necessarily agree with everything that he said, but yes, what a coup for Tommy Robinson to have that on.
Yeah.
But when I looked at that yesterday, it just wasn't a Tommy Robinson rally. These were not working class areas. And that politically for me, as a journalist, I was watching the numbers in that. Working class areas really don't vote. And yesterday I seen people from right across the spectrum coming in there. Not necessarily Tommy Robinson supporters, but would they vote for him? I'm not sure. And that could be a problem. That was my real thing.
Even you found the atmosphere exciting.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have failed to have been moved.
You're the veteran of things like that.
You know, when you seen all those flags, you heard the people singing, and then you sat and watched them on the bridge at Westminster. So as that went round like a J, you know, they couldn't get. There was that many of them that couldn't get them into the off the bridge.
Because you look at a lot of our viewers have been and listeners have been criticising us and other media this morning for focusing too much on the 25 arrests compared to the hundreds of thousands, as you say, were there. What was from somebody on the ground? Would you say a vast majority were just there peacefully protesting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was total peace. And I would say if there wasn't, I would say it was a disgrace, it was something. It wasn't. And it was because it was family oriented. Really, I know that's hard to say in a protest. But if you watch the stuff of the peace people and so forth back in the late 60s, it was that type of protest.
And every flag you can imagine. And I tell you what, don't the Welsh have the best flag in the world?
Yes, we have flag envy.
Dragons flapping in the breeze.
And I noticed the Northern Ireland flag flying in amongst it, which is really relevant now because in 1998, Tony Blair very much stopped the Northern Ireland flag being flown on buildings. He encouraged it not to be flown because of the peace agreement. And, you know, that's what you're looking at now with St George's Cross, etc.
Yeah.
And I seen it there proudly in amongst them yesterday, and I thought, yes, this is people just wanting to say, we're here, this is our kingdom, we're in the capital of it, we want to let you know. And if I was a politician yesterday watching that, I would be thinking twice just about where you're going at this minute in time.
That's what it was all about.
And as the protest was dubbed, Unite the Kingdom.
And it did.
Absolutely. Well, Doogie, you'll be back in the next hour for us, so thank you very much for now. See you later.
Fascinating. And I hope that people have been getting in touch saying, you know, we're misrepresenting the amount of people there. We're talking about far right. I don't think that's even a word that's been said this morning. And our reporting is correct, and you can trust Doogie. And he was there. Maybe there were more people than most of the outlets, and certainly the police are saying. But it certainly was. It was a wonderful sight to see people being peaceful.
And families as well.
Yeah, and all
Lots
those
of generations.
flags.
Anyway, still to come. Guess how much the NHS spends every day on translation services for non-English speaking patients? Find out on later this hour.
First of all, though, given the political chaos of the last week, could we be about to get a new Prime Minister? And who would that be? We're talking about that next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
This week, an extraordinary art discovery was made on an estate agent's listing in Mar del Plata in Argentina. Above a velvet sofa hangs an old master portrait lost for more than 80 years, looted by the Nazis. Its reappearance has reignited interest in the long quest to restore stolen heritage. Joining me now is historian Michaela Hume.
It's a fascinating story. So a lady who is a descendant of a former soldier who worked with Hermann Göring has, it is believed for years, has had some art that has been looted, that was looted during World War II. And I think people have approached her about this over the years, and she's categorically denied having any looted art. And she goes then to put one of the houses, I think that was owned by her father, up for sale, and hasn't realised that art that is believed to have been looted is actually on these images that the estate agent has taken.
Although it is extraordinary, it's kind of not entirely a surprise in the sense that the flat did belong to a Nazi official, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. And we know that Hermann Göring himself was a collector of art. I think during the 1940s, it was said that he was getting, on average, about 3, paintings, what we would call masterpiece paintings, a week. So we know that a large percentage of this looted art was going to him. It was even said that he had masterpieces just hung up in his cabin in the country, so it's highly plausible that he has given a piece of art to one of his right-hand men that has then been, passed down to his daughter.
The People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Cameron and Anne.
And time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to be our biggest winner to date with a prize package worth over 104 grand. That's a brand new motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, very good luck. Now, as we've been talking all morning, the Prime Minister, well, he must feel that he's in really hot water at the moment.
Yes, and now only a matter of time, is it now even, and only a matter of time before Sir Keir Starmer is replaced by a new leader. And who might that be?
And is it even likely? Joining us now to help us answer that question and more is political commentator Quentin Letts. Good morning. Lovely to speak to you. How do you see it happening over the next few weeks? How on earth is Keir Starmer going to get through the Labour Party conference? What earthquake is going to happen next for him?
Well, he's got the budget. That's the most problematic thing, more problematic than the party conference. And the budget is going to be at the end of November. I think possibly, I don't like to say this too much about one's fellow political reporters, but some people are getting a bit overexcited because the Prime Minister still has an enormous majority. And there is no automatic or obvious contender at the moment. Everyone's talking about Andy Burnham, but he's not in the House of Commons. However, things are undoubtedly a bit sticky for Sir Keir at the moment. He's had a rotten week. He's had a rotten 2 weeks. He's had a rotten year, really. And he doesn't seem to be entirely suitable in this job. However, he is the Prime Minister we have got. He has got a majority, and therefore I'm afraid we're going to be lumbered with him for quite a lot longer. However, that's not to say that it will stop the gossiping. And the problem for Sir Keir and for the government at the moment is the amount of sniping that's going on inside Whitehall and Westminster. And various people beefing against him. And this is taking things well away from the government of stability that Sir Keir was promising. He was saying we're going to be different from those Tories who are all bitching at each other. Well, actually, they look pretty much the same at the moment.
Quentin, you talk of the Prime Minister's big majority in the House of Commons. Of course, there was a lot of rebellion, wasn't there, when he tried to get welfare reform through and it had to be watered down. So even though he does have the numbers on paper, do they necessarily do what he says?
Well, of course, having a big majority doesn't mean to say you can ignore that majority, and you have to become artful about handling them. And therefore, that suggests that maybe the government will drift a bit towards the left, and it will be strategists very keen for that not to happen, because they always like a government party to stay in the middle. However, the Labour backbenchers seem to be allergic to the idea of making any government cuts, and yet that is where the economic necessity seems to be. So they are in undoubtedly a terrible bind.
I mean, you've been judging political climates for many years. Is there anything different about what's happening at the moment? I mean, is it consequential, or is this a phase we're going through?
I think it is consequential. I mean, I accept that things are going very badly. And you ask if it's different, Anne, and the problem for Sir Keir is that, no, it's not different. It is right back to the sort of sniping that happened under Mrs Thatcher. The Tory wets were always getting at Mrs T. It's right back to the sort of sniping that happened in the Labour Party during the Blair years, when the Brownites were always having a go at the Prime Minister. And it's also taking us back to the sort of chaos that saw Boris Johnson being toppled. He, too, had a big majority, so it's not necessarily a complete guarantee that a Prime Minister won't vanish. However, with Boris Johnson, there were obviously other candidates around who could take over. This time, I don't see one. However, maybe that I'm blind, but I just think that the drama, the agonies, have got quite a long way to go before Sir Keir is in real trouble.
The Prime Minister survives the course of this Parliament up until 2029, where the general election is expected to be, unless something drastic happens. How likely is it that it will be Sir Keir Starmer leading the Labour Party into that election?
My goodness, you're asking me to be a complete mystic Meg there, Cameron. I don't know. It depends whether he's got the stomach for it, if he wants to do it. You know, he doesn't look very happy in the job. It doesn't seem to me that he really enjoys it, and that's part of his problem. He doesn't radiate any gaiety or doesn't make people feel good and doesn't sort of seem to have an idea of where he wants to take us. However, it's difficult. It's much harder for a Labour Party to switch leaders when it's in government than it is for the Conservative Party. And the activists have a big role in all this as well. So they may be of a very different political persuasion from what the electorate is. It's really difficult. I mean, it doesn't feel as though Sir Keir has the stomach for the fight next time.
No, I mean, you were talking earlier about other times when there was a lot of sniping going on. You mentioned Margaret Thatcher. My goodness, everybody was always sniping at her. But she always came out fighting, didn't she? You don't sense that Starmer is that sort of fighter.
And she didn't come out fighting in the end. We fight on, we fight to win, she said. And then 2 days later, she had gone. So, Michael Heseltine did better, even though Heseltine didn't then become Prime Minister. I think when the public sees a party rhythm by squabbling, I think it goes off it. And now Sir Keir at the moment, who would take over? It's not going to be Angela Rayner because she's been vaporised. It's not going to be at the moment Andy Burnham because he's not in Parliament. And how would he get into Parliament? You've got to have a by-election. Would Labour win a by-election at the moment? There's no safe seat, arguably. And would he even be chosen as a candidate by Sir Keir? I suspect not. So therefore, you can see that there are difficulties. Well, who would take over? Rachel Reeves? Oh, come off. She's flying on one wing. So, I think we're stuck with him for a bit.
Political commentator Quentin Letts, thank you for joining us this morning.
Joyous times. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Do stay with us. It's 8:30 already. Still to come, a couple has come under fire for a very unconventional way of collecting their wedding favours. Find out what it is later on.
But first, the Manchester derby takes place today, but who will win out? Man U or Man City? That's next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time 8:34. Time to go through the sport now with Aidan. Lots of Premier League fixtures on today.
Yes, there are a couple today. Liverpool travelled to Burnley. We've got the Manchester derby as well at the Etihad. Both teams really in need of a win there. One of the big celebrated fixtures of the English Premier League.
Well, both teams in need of a win.
They are.
Both, can they?
They are, really. They are, exactly. They've both got goalkeeping problems as well. Ruben Amorim, the Man United manager today, or this morning, in some of the papers talking about Kobbie Mainoo. He was a guy young player who starred for England in the Euro 2024, not really had a look in since the Portuguese went in there before Christmas, but insists he's still part of his plans. I want to reflect on yesterday as well. Good win for Arsenal to take them top of the league against Nottingham Forest. Big Ange's first game in charge of Forest. As we discussed a couple of hours ago, Bournemouth pulling up trees, beating Brighton by 2-1. They're up to fourth. Another point on the board for Sunderland at Crystal Palace. But despair for West Ham United. They looked as if they were getting things back on track before the international break, winning 3-0 at Nottingham Forest. Their big derby, the visit of Tottenham Hotspur yesterday, losing 3-0, of course, and really under pressure now is Graham Potter, the manager, who we can hear from now as he reflects on that 3-0 defeat to Tottenham Hotspur at the London Stadium yesterday.
The scoreline went away from us so quickly, and then the red card, you can see it's an uncomfortable evening for us all. I felt for the supporters, of course, and the players out there, because you don't know whether to push on and open yourself up, and it can get even uglier. But that's just the reality when you're down to 2 or 3-0 with 10 men.
So that's Graham Potter, the West Ham manager. It's a lonely place to be when you're defending you're defending your players after another defeat, especially when you've lost a player to a sending off. And of course, Newcastle United, their first win of the season, to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Still early stages of the Premier League, but we're beginning to see the top of the table take shape. Arsenal top, Tottenham, they're big rivals, nestled in just behind them in second.
I see.
And then Bournemouth.
Bournemouth are fourth.
Fair enough. That's quite good, though, for Bournemouth.
Oh, brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah, quite good, brilliant.
It is.
Meanwhile, we've got the Women's Rugby World Cup going on.
Yes, exactly. So they're playing Scotland today. It would be one of the greatest upsets in the history of women's rugby if Scotland were to win that match. Now, earlier in the year, for some kind of context, Cameron, they played in the Six Nations. England won by 59 points to 7. England are the overwhelming favourites for this tournament. France facing Ireland today at Exeter. And as I mentioned to Anne a few times in the last few weeks when we've discussed it, it's great that it's going around the place, it's going around the country. If you're going to promote a sport, you have to bring it to different regions, especially ones that don't necessarily see top-level elite sport. Now, Bristol's the venue today for England against Scotland. Obviously, the finals at Twickenham in 2 weeks' time. We know that it's sold out. That's fantastic. And obviously, France against Ireland is the other semi-final, or one of the quarter-finals today, and that's down in Exeter. So, brilliant to see it spread around. But as I say, it'd be a magnificent win for Scotland if they could do it. But I think England are going to be the ones doing it today.
Oh, really? OK, great. And, of course, you've got the two royal patrons as well. Princess of Wales is patron of England rugby.
Yes, exactly. Well, she's been at some of the games, actually.
She has. And I think Princess Charlotte got brought to one as well.
She did.
Yes.
Yeah, she's growing up, my goodness.
Let's talk about Luke Littler, of course.
Yes.
Bringing darts you wouldn't really talk about much, would you?
Not this time of year,
no. Not this time of year, not in September.
No.
But Luke Littler seems to have changed all that.
Yeah, he transcends the sport, and this is what these kind of minority sports need. Every generation you need somebody who's going to just turn the dial slightly and maybe take it out off 6 pages from the back, if you're talking about a newspaper, onto the back pages, and who knows, just even on the front pages with Luke Littler. I mean, you think Ronnie O'Sullivan did it for snooker many years ago. The tobacco advertising came out of the sport around that time, so that really impacted the development of it and the prize money, etc. But it's £500,000 now for the winner of the World Championship of Darts. This is the World Series. Luke Littler winning through to the, I think it was the semi-final he's got through to. Yeah, he's playing against Ross Smith in the semi-final, beating Johnny Clayton yesterday. He was 3-0 down and he rattled off 5 more legs to go on and win that. And this is the World Series of Darts in Amsterdam, another sport, Cameron, which is getting around the place. We see, I mean, it's not a new thing. It has been around Europe for quite some time, but we're seeing it go further and further afield. There doesn't seem to be any end to where darts can go. And as I say, I cannot remember too many times in my career when I've discussed darts outside of the Christmas and New Year period. It was a big event around then.
Yes.
It was then put to bed for a long time. There were tournaments going ahead. I remember the launch of the Darts Premier League in 2006, coming up for 20 years ago now. It just shows that it does take time for these competitions to bed into the schedule and gather the attention of the audience, but that's certainly happening now, and it doesn't half help when you've got a teenage sensation pulling up trees all over the place.
So how old is he, Luke?
I think he's 19 now.
He's 19. That must be quite a lot of pressure, though.
Yeah, it is, but you know what? I mean, Anna...
He doesn't seem to take it, though,
No, it doesn't,
he?
exactly. I mean, he looks... Well, probably because maybe...
He looks so relaxed.
Maybe he is actually older than he lets on. He certainly looks it, but I don't want to be too... No, but you know what? He doesn't seem to be affected by pressure. And he seems to... It's all about hand-eye repetition. I spoke to Phil Taylor, who was the greatest player ever as of now, and I spoke to him maybe 10 years ago, and he said to me, it doesn't matter how noisy the auditorium is, or wherever I'm playing at, or what abuse people are throwing at me, or what beer they're throwing at me, or whatever. He said that practice of 6 hours a day, all year round, of that hand-eye coordination stands me in good stead. Nothing can interfere with that, no matter what the variables are on stage. Nothing's going to interrupt that. And it's all about practice, same as it is for any sport.
That's right.
It's a lot of skill. OK, Aidan, thank you very much.
Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you.
OK, we'll be looking through the newspapers in a couple of moments because we are going to be looking at just how much the NHS spends per day on translators for non-English speaking patients. It's 5 times what it was 5 years ago. All that to come with Emma and Lewis. First of all, though, if you're in search of some holiday sun, and I don't blame you, here's where to go for it.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading off to the Mediterranean, then there's plenty of dry, sunny and very warm weather on offer over the next few days. There may well be a few showers just moving into the far north of Portugal and the far north of Spain on Monday, but most of Iberia, dry, sunny and very warm, if not hot. The same across Italy, most of Greece, the Balkans and Turkey. Just 1 or 2 afternoon thunderstorms here and there. And the outlook is for it to stay pretty settled, dry and sunny for the vast majority, and very warm indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
1, 2, 3.
The iconic Gretna Green. For over 270 years, couples have travelled here to be wed. What started in 1754 as a way for under-18s to marry without parental consent has now become a hotspot for lovebirds to say I do.
Guys, you've just gotten married here at Gretna Green. How are you feeling?
Amazing, really good. Happy that we've come and celebrated here.
We didn't want anything big, nothing extreme, and it was simple, easy to do.
David and Jenny now have their honeymoon and the rest of their lives to look forward to. But, as is the story for most modern couples, getting married wasn't just about love.
When you're married, everything's like legal-wise is just so much more simpler rather than having to worry about lawyers and stuff like that later on.
To have the same last name as the kids as well is quite a big thing for me.
In England, Scotland and Wales, the laws around marriage are complex and engulfed in red tape. To make things worse, the average cost of a wedding is now over £23,000. Gretna Green is calling on the government to appoint a dedicated marriage czar.
We believe marriage is struggling not because love is dead, it's because the system is broken. People don't seem to see marriage as an important thing. It provides great stability. Marriage matters. There's economic benefits, there's social benefits, and the government have got to show some leadership. And we're calling for a czar because we want someone to be the voice of marriage in this country.
Every year, around 4,000 newlyweds are married at Gretna Green. But with a change in the law, it seems that many more, both here and across the UK, could be saying I do. Sophie Reaper.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time to go through the papers now with political commentator Emma Wolfe and writer and broadcaster Lewis Oakley. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Now, we've had lots of viewers and listeners getting in touch about the NHS spending a lot of money on translators. And Gary has been in touch, who lives in the Canary Islands. Good morning, Gary. And he said, when I go to hospital, I have to pay and take my own translator. Because they're all speaking Spanish, of course.
Well, firstly, it's not fair that he's in the Canary Islands. And secondly, yeah, this one is getting people really annoyed. The report says the NHS is spending around £133,000 a day on translation services and interpreters for non-English-speaking people. As you say, Gary in the Canaries, I've had another message from someone saying, if you go to hospital in France or Spain, you use Google Translate. Someone else said to me, if I go to hospital in Thailand or India, you just have to hope that they speak English. And Anne, you were saying about going to hospital in America, you have to get out your credit card.
Yeah.
Why are people, and asylum seekers, let's just remind ourselves, asylum seekers are entitled to free translators and interpreters during the process of their processing their claim. And also this figure, which is about £64 million a year, is only 65% of the NHS trusts, because actually only 65% of them responded to this survey. So this is a significant cost to the NHS.
And it certainly can be helped by AI now, because I was in Greece recently and I needed a prescription, and I do not speak Greek, and I don't understand the written. Yeah, it's a very hard language to learn. I need to get on with that. But ChatGPT said, "Shall I write out for you what you should say to the?" Explain. Shall I write out for you how to explain it to the pharmacist, and then you can show them and it actually did it for me in Greek, and that was such a help. Now, if it's that easy, why aren't we using it more instead of getting in translators?
Well, it comes back to what I said before. I think because of procurement in the NHS, they don't want you using ChatGPT. They want to have, some company do that for millions of pounds and provide the translators. Look, I get what everyone's saying, and here it says that the 5-year financial forecast for this is 243 million, the equivalent to employing nearly 2,000 nurses in the NHS. It's obviously an issue. But the reality is there are no good options, because if you are relying on ChatGPT or dodgy translations, whatever it is, you actually risk someone being misdiagnosed. The migrants aren't going anywhere, or the people that are using the NHS that can't speak English are not going anywhere. So if you misdiagnose them, you're going to end up paying more money in the long run. And I think to that point...
No, I do not, sorry to interrupt, I do not accept that a translator or an interpreter who has to be found, who then has to be booked in at the same time as the patient, all of that, I do not accept that they are going to be more expert than just putting it into a phone and saying, look, this is the translation of what the patient is trying to say. This is a translation of specific what. That you're not misdiagnosing. You've still got a doctor there, you've still got a nurse there, you've still got medical professionals there, but you're using AI or you're using the computer as a way of speeding up the process.
I understand, but at the same time, and you're saying you're putting in what you think they need to know, but it's a doctor, there has to be a dialogue. They need to say, well, is it is the pain sharp, or is it like this, or whatever it is? And being able to actually have a translator there is going to help you more than that backwards and forwards.
The docs can ask.
If we could do ChatGPT, I think that would be a great idea. I'm just saying that's never going to happen. They're not going to say just use
the inefficiency, though, isn't it, in the NHS? The inefficiency, as you're talking about with procurement, and also the other question, which we're not really allowed to touch on, which is, is it fair to be paying for these services for people who may have just come to this country, they may have come illegally, all of that, and that's probably the wider issue, because this is a lot of money.
Well, I know people definitely feel that way, that why are we paying money into the pot? People that haven't paid into the pot are getting the benefit of it. The reality is I don't think that Brits are comfortable or have the stomach for, you know, a 5-year-old boy being turned away from A&E because he's not British.
I don't
That's
think
just the
they'll ever be
reality.
turned away, will they? But it's a question of, as you say, in America, where you are asked to pay in advance, even in an emergency situation, you are asked to give your card.
And I've interviewed somebody about this, an administrator from the NHS, who said the reason it looks very expensive is because it would take a long time to suddenly try and find a translator who lived nearby. So we have them in on a rota. So they're paid for the whole day.
Exactly.
But doesn't this come back, as you're alluding to, Emma, the wider issue around too many people in this country and the migration
and what we are willing and not willing to pay for, what we are willing and not willing to give people who don't have a legal right to be here, and all of that. And it
I come back to
this
is just a symptom. This is just a symptom of how we run the NHS. It needs a common sense reform, and I hope that they do bring in ChatGPT to help with this cost.
Well, they're bringing it in, not particularly only that, but lots of AI to help in medical circumstances, aren't they?
Of course.
Lewis, what do you make of Elon Musk springing up via video link at the Unite the Kingdom march yesterday in central London?
Yes, so this is Elon Musk kind of joining via video link, and he had some choice words to say. He said it's time to fight back or die. He's called for a general election, and this has got a lot of people saying, well, why is he interfering in our politics? He doesn't even go here. I think it's quite interesting because my personal take on this is I would rather know what Elon Musk thinks. He is, I think, now the second, allegedly, richest man in the world. I would rather know what he thinks and be able to have that discourse, have my opinion with it, than the shadowy billionaires and millionaires that have the ear of our politicians, that are lobbying in the background. We don't know what's going on. Elon Musk, you can go on his own platform and at him and say, I think you're wrong. And I actually would rather that, even though we're talking about, especially since Charlie Kirk taking down the temperature, I don't think those words took down the temperature.
He said, and there are a couple of quotes in today's Observer, what he said, we must have revolutionary government change. He said, the left is the party of murder and celebrating murder. That's who we're dealing with here. He also said, whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. That's when he said, you either fight back or you die.
Yeah, his words were actually verging on inflammatory, not particularly helpful. But you're right, Lewis. If we want free speech, then Elon Musk is, whatever you think of him, he's absolutely entitled to have a view. He really doesn't like Starmer. He really doesn't like the Labour government. He's been, you know, all over British politics in terms of his views since they came in, since the general election, actually. But if you want free speech, then he has a right to say what he thinks, in the same way that many, many lefties over here talk constantly tell us what they think about President Trump.
Yeah, the only bit I really take issue with is that he did it via video link. I mean, only in 2025 can you join a London protest from the safety of your living room with a bit of Wi-Fi. That's taking hybrid work into a whole new level. Come here and say it in person. I don't like this whole... You know, it's bad enough he's from a different country getting involved in our politics, which I don't have a massive issue with, but the fact that you didn't even come here and say it in person is the bit I take issue with.
If Elon Musk had turned up in Whitehall yesterday, that really would have got the crowds out. I mean, and also it's fascinating, people saying I think the figure was 110,000, and then other people saying absolutely not, there were at least a million, at least 2 million. There must be a way of working this out and really calculating properly, you know, from all the aerial footage. But also the figures are so disputed. People who were there, I mean, I was in Central, I didn't count 2 million. People who were there say it was really over, you know, millions of people, and the police are saying things like 100.
I know someone that was there.
Well, yeah, the official figures was 110 to 150,000 people, according to the police. Doogie Beattie, our reporter, was physically on the ground there. He says it was far, far more than that. Yeah. But of course, we've got, at the front of the protest, you have quite divisive characters, whatever you think of them, such as Tommy Robinson, Katie Hopkins, and all the rest of it. But then, of course, there's so many other people behind, aren't there, who are grandparents, children, families, Do you think it misrepresents who the march was aimed for?
I think so. There are so many reasons for going on a march. Some people, it might be about the migrant hotel. Some people, it might be the incursions on free speech. Some people, it might just be the government. I spoke to one person that actually went and said it was really lacklustre because actually I managed to get on a bridge and then I was just sort of shoulder to shoulder with people and couldn't move for 2 hours. So they didn't get to see any of the speeches or any of the things that have made the news. They were just sort of stood on a bridge with people. So yeah, it was actually, we don't know the numbers, you know, they're disputed, but it was very oversubscribed, we can definitely say that.
Well, Doogie Beattie was there, and he is a veteran of things like this, and he said it was incredibly exciting.
Yeah, and there were those more extreme right-wing figures. We know that. There were people, but there were many, many hundreds of thousands who were there with flags, just celebrating and talking about their feelings around this country and how we've, you know, what we've lost, how we... It was called Unite the Kingdom.
Yeah, which is
it wasn't a far-right rally.
A lovely title. Yeah. And if you consider that the figures were as big maybe as a million, 25 protesters, as it were, arrested, and 26 policemen injured, police people injured, which is obviously reprehensible. But as far as figures go...
Yeah. And we've seen far more violence and arrests at pro-Palestinian Palestinian rallies in the past few months than 25.
Well, look, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming and reviewing the papers for us this morning. It's still cold in here.
It certainly is.
But chill.
Do let us know what you think, gbnews.com/your say. It is a little bit chilly in here. Let's see if it's chilly where you are. This is Gwen with Tom Morgan.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be north-eastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon, and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That wind, though, will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK, and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers there across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
I thought you'd set up a new version of Pimlico Plumbers in London.
Yeah, my family have set up a company called We Fix London, but we started planning that, 2 years before Labour got in. If we'd known Labour was getting in, we wouldn't have planned it. So obviously we've got to comply with the tax regulations, but anybody with any sense would agree with what I'm saying. The taxes are too high in the UK for wealthy people. Wealthy people can go and work anywhere in the world and be financially a lot better off.
And we had a non-dom regime that was basically stable for 200 years. It's only recently that it's been changed. And we're changing it and making it harder, just as other countries are making it easier. So you can go to Italy and you can negotiate an amount that you will pay. Portugal's been welcoming people. Malta's been welcoming people. All over the world, countries are saying, please come and bring your money. And the UK is saying, we're going to take all your money. We don't want you anymore.
That's right. Look, they're all encouraging sort of UK business people to come there, and it's working. If you become a tax exile in Italy, you pay 200 grand for the year. You don't have to pay no more. But the real problem is we're wasting their money, and they should be encouraging entrepreneurs to be staying. I think our biggest export at the moment is wealthy people.
So you're a businessman. You know how to do things and make a profit. If you're advising the Chancellor on how to get the money the country needs to pay for the public services, what would you be saying? Because at the moment, the tax revenues don't meet our expenditure. There is a gap. Something needs to give.
Resign.
All right, but that's not the answer.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. Are the Prime Minister's days now numbered?
As the pressure mounts on Sir Keir Starmer to explain what he knew of Lord Mandelson's friendship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and when.
With reports, even backbenchers, his own backbenchers, have lost all faith in him. Could this be the scandal that finally brings Keir Starmer down?
At least 150,000 protesters take to the streets of London for Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally, with 25 arrests and 26 police officers injured.
The Kingdom came to town, I was there, and I'll have all the latest next.
The first Channel migrants are apparently going to be deported to France tomorrow. But could lawyers launch an 11th-hour bid to actually block the one-in, one-out deal?
And as National Prayer Week comes to a close, we'll take a break from the busy news cycle to reflect.
Wet and windy weather is on the cards once again today. Find out just when that rain will arrive where you are in your full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Ann Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, it's lovely to have Doogie Beattie in the studio with us, because you're usually down the line in Northern Ireland, aren't you?
I am.
Absolutely. Well, loads of viewers and listeners have been getting in touch about the NHS story that they are paying a lot of money on translators for patients who come in and can't speak English. And is that an issue in Northern Ireland as well?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, a year ago, my mother took a stroke, and she'd paid her tax all her life. She never missed a day at work. I took her to hospital that night, and when she was brought in, we were told that we had to wait longer because there was translators being used with someone that was there, obviously in pain, and we had to wait, and she had to wait a couple of hours because the translator was charging the NHS by the hour.
Gosh.
So therefore, someone that paid their tax all their life had to wait aside because of translators. But it's not the only waste of money in government at this minute in time. I mean, I'm looking at a story at the moment on agency workers. Northern Ireland, one department in Northern Ireland pays £1 million a month on agency workers.
Gosh, is it inefficiencies then, do you think, within the NHS?
Absolutely, absolutely. The NHS is a great organisation, but it has too many inefficiencies. I mean, if you look at banking with nurses, etc., and doctors, they get twice the wage. They could work 36 hours, the normal stage, and then go back in and get twice the money for not doing overtime. So there's so many inefficiencies in the NHS. Translation is only a very small part of it, but yes,
it's so huge, isn't it? You wonder isn't it the biggest corporation or whatever it can't be the world, but it's one of the biggest employers in the world.
It is indeed, yes. And
maybe that is just too large to manage.
Yes, if that was the private sector, I mean, you would be facing cuts, and you look at us compared to the BBC, and you see, we're nearly doing too much, and you go out and you see the BBC crews, and there's 3 and 4 a crew, and you're thinking,
yes,
oh yeah, this is
just you sometimes.
This is taxpayers' money, and this is our,
yes.
and there is a subtle difference, and it is the difference between public sector and private sector. And the rhyme that I was always taught: if your outgoings exceed your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. If you're spending more than you have, well, you need to look at cutting back, and unfortunately, the NHS has grown far too big and too many other things. And if you look at how the NHS was formed, if you ever watch that programme called The Midwife, I mean, it started as what it should be, basic care. And then we went into things like birth control, and now people
IVF, I mean, you name it.
Yeah, and it keeps on going.
Well,
bottomless pit, isn't it?
Yeah. Indeed. Well, Dougie, we'll speak to you a little bit later on, and do let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. But now to our top story.
Well, I was just going to say, before we go to our top story, we're marking the end of National Prayer Week. If you've got a favourite, short one, now's the time to email it in, if you would, because a lot of people have little tiny prayers that maybe little mantras they say them to themselves at night or in the morning that make a difference. Love to hear it.
It's comforting.
Well, Prime Minister needs one at the moment, doesn't he, in the morning? I wonder what he says to himself in the mirror in the morning. He's coming under such pressure at the moment as reports emerge that his own backbenchers have lost their faith in him.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer is under fire over what he knew of Lord Mandelson's friendship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and when.
And it comes after the Prime Minister, of course, suffered the loss of his Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, just over a week ago. And now, of course, Lord Mandelson as Washington ambassador. He pressed the reset button, 2 weeks ago, for phase 2, and it sort of didn't happen.
Yes, is this reset number 6 now? Anyway, GB News presenter Camilla Tominey, she's up next, and she joins us from Westminster. Good morning, Camilla.
Morning.
Oh, the Prime Minister yet again in hot water on a Sunday morning.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it, for business not. I'm going to be speaking to the Business Secretary, Peter Kyle, who has got probably the most difficult broadcast round of this Labour administration, because the pressure is being piled on predominantly by Kemi Badenoch, who I think we can all agree did have a good PMQs last week at last, hammering home this issue around Peter Mandelson and what the government knew and when. So Kemi Badenoch is now claiming that the Prime Minister misled the House of Commons last Wednesday, in saying that he followed all of the due process and procedures. He was quite loyally, wasn't he, in saying, all of the rules have been followed. We then found out the very next day from Stephen Doughty that actually additional information had come to light. But as the Times and now the Telegraph and the Sunday Times are reporting today, Downing Street had that information about the additional emails on the Tuesday. By the way, my own newspaper, The Telegraph, had written about the fact that while he was Business Secretary, Peter Mandelson himself had been involved in brokering a deal with Epstein. This is post-conviction. We know that he stayed at Epstein's house while he was in prison. We now know that he described him as his best pal, used that strange phrase, yum yum, etc. So the point is here, really, is Kemi Badenoch, the opposition leader, right in allegations that the Prime Minister has misled the House of Commons? And what's the consequence of that? Peter Kyle is going to have to answer those questions and more about this sorry saga. It's interesting as well, isn't it? Because Peter Kyle was the one who equated Nigel Farage with Jimmy Savile over the Reform leader's opposition to the online safety bill. Yet at the same time, Peter Kyle's own leader and Prime Minister supported a man who called a convicted paedophile his best pal. It's tricky, isn't it? It is tricky, all this. So we'll be picking through all of that. Also be speaking to Peter Kyle. He's celebrating £1.2 billion in US investment. But, of course, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has just pulled the plug on Ineos in the UK. So we've lost £2.2 billion there. We've lost a deal with Merck for another £1 billion. So as far as I can calculate, we're actually down on US investment, not up. Of course, we'll look ahead to the US state visit. I'm going to be joined by Freddie Gray on papers from The Spectator. Also speaking to Hadley Gamble about Charlie Kirk's death. Laura trots up for the Conservatives. What does she make of Bridget Phillipson claiming that she was born in a cardboard box in the middle of the street? And I'll be speaking to Sir Anthony Selden, who is the great political biographer. He had claimed that Boris Johnson was the worst Prime Minister in recent history. I'm wondering if he's changing his mind.
I wonder, absolutely. Yeah, Bridget Phillipson, did you see the makeover?
I did. Windswept, Anne. I wish I could have photographs taken in a wind tunnel in a similar fashion.
She looks incredible. I didn't recognise her.
I didn't recognise her. I had to be told it was her.
To be fair to her, she always loves coming on this show and likes to be in the studio to be grilled directly, which I always find admirable in Labour. So I will certainly give her that.
Oh, I don't blame her as well. And if you're positioning yourself to maybe be a possible deputy PM or something, then you've got to look the part, I suppose, haven't you?
Indeed.
And I wonder if Andy Burnham's thinking the same thing.
We shall invite
see if he
him
can
on.
have a glow up. Camilla, thank you. We'll see you at 9:30.
It's all going on, isn't it?
It certainly is. Now, the Unites for Kingdom rally through central London yesterday has been making headlines because there were well over 150,000 protesters. A very small number, 25, were arrested because, well, after 26 police officers were injured.
Yeah, the march now, as we know, was organised by Tommy Robinson with Elon Musk delivering a live video message to protesters.
And our very own Doogie Beattie was there, Doogie. I mean, what did you make of it? What was the general atmosphere like?
I've got to say, Tommy Robinson pulled it off. He brought in people from right across the United Kingdom, and indeed, as I said before, the Republic of Ireland, which surprised me. And, you know, we were in amongst them at Waterloo. It just wasn't people holding flags, it was the people from those regions that were holding the flags. You know, every flag of the UK represented. People travelling from Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, right down to the Isle of Wight were appearing there, just to say it was a historical day. And when you were standing at Waterloo and you've seen all these flags, I mean, the hairs in the back of your neck stood. There's no doubt about it. And as they left, there was well over 100,000 people in Waterloo. And as they came down through the city, I mean, it wasn't a parade on one side of the road. They were filling the road right across. And as they went through London, all the other regions started joining the protest. By the time they got into Whitehall, there was easily well over 100,000 in Whitehall, right back from the stage, and it was so well stewarded. It was inclusive of not just Tommy Robinson supporters. I mean, there were supporters from right across the UK. I spoke to families, I spoke to grandparents, you know, fathers, mothers. It was incredible.
Why were they there? What did they tell you? Why did they come such a long way, some of them?
Well, they told me straight that they believed their culture was being set aside to bring in other cultures, that they were being overruled. And they said, no, this is our government in London. We are bringing it to them. And if I was a politician yesterday looking at that, I would be quite worried to see just exactly what I seen and think to yourself, oh, maybe need to rethink this. There was well over the numbers that were estimated there. I mean, people that don't understand London, you know, trying to bring this out to the people that are across the UK that maybe never visit London, it's like a J where they went into, the bottom end of a J. So when they go into Whitehall, right up to the Parliament and then right across the bridge, and they were still on the bridge. So there's got to be 300,000 at that stage.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. We're showing pictures now.
This is
everybody on Westminster Bridge.
And at Westminster Bridge, it was still way on down past that. And the police very wisely decided, let's get them off the bridge. And they put them down the embankment. But unfortunately, and I can't say for sure, but I know there was other forces from all across the UK that were there for crowd control, etc. A very wise decision, because there was also 2 football matches going on in London yesterday. So obviously the resources were stretched. I do believe, people said they were kettled down in towards the counter-protest. I believe it was a police force that didn't understand the geography of London, and they actually redirected a lot of them down in towards the counter-protest.
But you didn't see any violence. Sorry.
We did see.
You did see some.
We were on air at one of those flash points where people from the Isle of Wight, actually, she was like somebody's mummy. She was lovely, and she had got kettled down in towards us. She got pushed in towards the counter-protest by the police, and then they, of course, met at these barriers, and we were caught in between the barriers because we were going round, to be fair, to report on the counter-demonstration, because we have to be fair on what we're doing. And when we got there, all of a sudden, these Unite the Kingdom marchers had been pushed down in towards them, and quite a scuffle broke out at that point.
And where was the counter-protest? Trafalgar Square?
Yes, it was at the back. Basically, Whitehall was here, and the back of a hotel, the Raffles Hotel, was a beautiful hotel. just up the side of it was then the other counter-protest.
I see.
And they were pushed into the other protest, which sparked off lots of scuffles in amongst it. And when we were standing there, I mean, a flare came in amongst my feet, and I'm live on air, and I actually kicked the flare away, went straight to the policeman. Ollie, the cameraman, had the same experience. And, we had to say we had to come off air. But at that period, then a bottle came in from the counter-protest and hit one of the Unite the Kingdom people. And, it was just a bit of argy-bargy on that side of stuff. The police, the only thing I will say about the police at this point was the riot shields and helmets came out on Unite the Kingdom side, while on the counter-protest, they were still in soft hats, trying to hold them back on the other side. Now, whether that was because those police were really up against it, against barriers, who knows? But that sort of sparked it off as well. But what a day to be in London.
Absolutely.
And we went up to the front, onto the stage, and shot down Whitehall. But we had to get out of there because the speakers, it was a concert. The speakers, if we had tried to do a live, we were drowned out. So we decided, let's go around London and look. And the amount of people in London with their Union Jacks, their Welsh flags, everything, it was absolutely, it was fantastic.
Thank you, Doogie. Appreciate your reporting. And now it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to be our biggest winner to date. Here's all the details.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest prize giveaway to date.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people, comes with integrated bathroom and kitchen areas, has plenty of storage, and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like.
Make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Now, Camilla Tominey is getting ready for her programme, of course. She's going to be grilling the Business Secretary, Peter Kyle, on what's happening in Downing Street at the moment. I wonder if he knows.
Yes, but first, we're taking a pause from the busy news cycle to talk about National Prayer Week. That's next.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast.
Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation.
Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms.
Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In a moment, we're going to be talking about the National Week of Prayer, which is coming to a close today. First of all, though, shall we have our daily reflection?
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Chris Tufnell, a vicar in the Church of England. If people have heard of any of Jesus' parables, his stories, they've probably heard of the Good Samaritan. It's worked its way into our language. We might call someone a Good Samaritan. The Samaritans are an organisation you can call on the phone if you need help. But the original surprise in Jesus telling that story is that the people he was speaking to didn't think there were any good Samaritans. It would be like telling a story today about the generous banker or the unambitious politician. And that was the genius of Jesus' story. His audience had very strong and deep disagreements with the Samaritans about things that mattered. And yet, in the story, when one of their own was beaten up and left for dead, the only passerby who went out of his way to help him was a Samaritan. It's a powerful story displaying the beauty of loving those we disagree with. I think it's right to say that as a society, we're not very good at loving those we disagree with. By loving, I don't mean feeling warm and fuzzy. I mean treating people with love, kindness, honor, generosity, giving the benefit of the doubt, that kind of thing. We're allowed to disagree. It would be pretty boring if we never did. But Jesus taught that it should be possible to profoundly disagree and profoundly love at the same time. And when Christians think of Jesus dying on the cross for us, we're reminded that Jesus practiced what he preached.
Well, here to tell us more about National Prayer Week is National Week of Prayer's vision architect, Cam Flynn. Cam, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what's important about National Prayer Week and what are you doing to commemorate it?
So the National Week of Prayer is birthed by over 40 organisations who felt that it was time for us to bring our nation back into rhythms of prayer. I have a book called The Trumpet Sounds for Britain here, which is about all the days of prayer that the King called in this nation. And the many times, especially during the Second World War, when days of prayer were called and answers, miraculous answers to prayer happened. And so why that's relevant right now is because of this cultural moment we are living in, where there is just so much dissension, there is a lot of global and geopolitical instability. And I think we all need something greater than ourselves.
Yeah, and when you think of that, I suppose people might say a prayer to a different God, or what they think is a different God, but as long as they've got somebody to say a prayer to. And you mentioned kings there, and I know Queen Elizabeth II, I think she even said that she really very strongly believed in the power of prayer.
That's right, exactly. And there are many moments in the Bible where Jesus reminds us that if we ask of him and we remain in him, we will get what we ask for. And that is at the heart of the National Week of Prayer, what we all believe. And so it wasn't just over 40 organisations. There are many, many churches across all mainstream denominations who have actually joined us. The Catholic Church, the Church of England, the Greek Orthodox Church, Evangelical Alliance. We have an ecumenical host of people who all are allowing faith to rise at the same time.
We've only got a few seconds, but I just wanted to say, I know that if you say a prayer, it probably does a lot for you inside, your own being, your own soul. Do you believe in the power of lots of people praying together? Do you think there actually is a power of lots of people praying?
I believe in both. I believe that this is the one faith that has pervaded through the centuries, where Jesus is somebody who's worth following because he says, look at yourself first before you judge others outside. And that is what allows us to make our prayers together so powerful, because if you're looking at yourself first, it actually allows that power to go into a corporate setting.
Well, there couldn't be a better week to sort of end on that note.
Definitely.
So thank you very much for telling us about it.
Pleasure.
And that's it from us as well at the moment, but do stay tuned because Camilla Tominey is next.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be northeastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon, and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland is still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That window will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers there across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the